Chapter 87. Carrying 2 bags, Lu Qing suddenly felt a little embarrassed and couldn't say the words he had prepared. He said blankly, "Dad, Mom, these are my gifts for you." Gifts? Lu Cheng's mom put down the things in her hands and looked at him with surprise and suspicion. "Why do you want to buy us gifts? Did you do something wrong at school?" "Don't worry, we won't blame you." Seeing that his mother had such a misunderstanding, Lu Qing almost burst out laughing. His embarrassment dissipated a lot. He handed over the gifts and explained, "No, I bought them with the first sum of money I earned on my own. The gift for Dad is a woolen sweater, and the gift for you is 2 sets of warm autumn wear. Try them on and see if they fit." "You bought them with the first money you earned?" Lu Cheng's mom was stunned at first and then couldn't hide her smile. She said happily, "Oh, this, you know how to be filial. Oh, it's good to have such a heart." Lu Cheng's dad took the bags and took out the woolen sweater. He coughed and said, "Why buy gifts? You're still in school and it's not easy to earn money. Keep it for yourself. Your mom and dad don't lack clothes." While speaking, he held the woolen sweater tightly in his right hand, as if no one could take it away from him. Seeing this, Lu Qing felt funny and wanted to cry. He held back his emotions and said, "Don't worry, I have my own private savings. See if they fit." Lu Cheng's mom's eyes were red. She looked at the label and nagged, "You should tell us if you want to buy clothes as gifts. If you don't buy the right ones, we have to wait for a few days before we can change them. Do you have a receipt? Hey, they fit. The size is right. Hey, I secretly checked your wardrobe." Lu Qing surrendered. "You little brat, you're getting smarter and smarter." Lu Cheng's mom laughed and scolded. Lu Cheng's dad looked at the label, pushed up his glasses and wiped the corner of his eyes. He said, "You earned this money from part-time work?" "No, didn't I tell you that I joined the university martial arts club? I found that I had some martial arts talent and improved quickly. During the holidays, I signed up for a challenge tournament and entered the elimination stage. I got a few thousand yuan in prize money." Lu Qing reduced the 15,000 yuan to a few thousand yuan. This was not an intentional lie to his parents, but a practical consideration. Ever since he started high school, he didn't need to hand in his lucky money and could keep it for himself. His family wasn't very strict when it came to money. However, if he kept a bonus of 10,000 or more in his own hands, his mother would be worried. She was afraid that he would squander it all. After all, he was still a student who hadn't officially entered society yet. If she offered to help him save 10,000 yuan as a daughter-in-law's book, there was no way he could refuse. He couldn't say that it was to chase after their future daughter-in-law, right? Martial arts competition? It was very easy to get hurt. Why do you want to participate in the competition? Are you hurt? Lu Cheng's mother was shocked and asked a lot of questions. Lu Qing posed like a bodybuilder. "Mom, look at me. I'm so lively. How do I look like I'm injured?" Moreover, there are high-level referees and supervisors in official competitions. Minor injuries are not a problem, and serious injuries are already very rare. That won't do. Accidents are bound to happen. Lu Cheng's mother said worriedly. Lu Qing smiled and said, "If you really want to talk about accidents, it's not safe to take the bus. Can we not take the bus?" "Bah. Don't jinx it." Lu Cheng's mother waved her hand. At this time, Lu Cheng's father opened his mouth and said with a smile, Okay, don't say any more. I feel that Cheng has changed a lot since he came home this time. He's more cheerful and has his own opinions." After a pause, he turned his eyes to Lu Cheng. "You're now an adult. Since you've made such a choice, we respect your choice. But I just want to remind you. First, don't neglect your studies. Second, don't give up the path you've chosen. No matter how hard or tiring it is, remember that you've chosen it yourself." "Yes, Dad. I've chosen the path myself. I'll finish it even if I have to kneel down." Lu Cheng replied using the popular words on the internet. Lu Cheng's mother glared at his father. What adult? You've just started college. How can you be considered an adult? In our time, there were a lot of 18-year-olds who had babies. Lu Cheng's father replied in a low voice. Humph. Then you didn't have a girlfriend at the age of 26. Lu Cheng's mother exposed him. Seeing that his mother and father had stopped arguing about martial arts, Lu Cheng heaved a sigh of relief. He busied himself with packing up the last bit of things. Hey, now you know how to show off. Lu Cheng's mother looked at him unhappily. Come, help me carry these things. The lackey carried the things and Lu Cheng led the way. They went out of the neighborhood and went straight to the bus stop. It was New Year's Eve. In a city like Shushan, there were basically no online car-hailing services. They could only wait for a taxi or bus. Of course, when they came back at night, Lu Cheng's father and mother had other ways. They knew several people in the neighborhood who drove for a living, which was commonly known as little black cars. They just needed to call and pay a little more and someone would come to pick them up. This was the advantage of being neighbors who used to work in the same factory and were quite familiar with each other. It was also a small detail in the life of ordinary citizens. After 9 stops, the family of 3 took a bus and arrived at Lu Cheng's grandparents' house. This was an elevator apartment that had been built in recent years. The old couple sold their old house as a down payment and lived here with Lu Cheng's second uncle. The elevator went up and arrived at the 16th floor. Lu Cheng knocked on the security door. After a while, the door opened. A young man in his 20s said with a smile, Cheng, you've been back for so many days. Why don't you come over for a meal? Lu Cheng took out his slippers as if he were at home. He changed into his slippers and said, Hey, too many classmates asked me out. The man in front of him was his cousin, Lu Yanwei, who was about 1.75 meters tall. He was not fat but had a round face. His facial features were characteristic of the Lu family. He was filial and lively. He took good care of his younger siblings. During the 3rd year of junior high school, Lu Cheng's family situation was not good. He barely had any pocket money. It was only because of this cousin that he didn't feel inferior. At that time, he was the good brother of China in his heart. Lu Yanwei was good at everything, but he was too restless. When he was in his 3rd year of senior high school, he felt that college was boring, so he went to work early. Later, he quit his job and started his own business. He ran a milk tea shop, a cake shop, a taobao shop, and even a restaurant. However, these businesses either didn't make any money or were doing well in the beginning. He had no choice but to close them down. After a few years, his parents, who were also his second uncle and second aunt, were almost emptied out. He had no choice but to go back to his old place to work. Not bad. You're doing well. Lu Yanwei said with a smile. He took out a pair of slippers from the shoe cabinet and handed them to Lu Cheng's parents. Big Dad, Auntie, come in. It's windy outside. Lu Cheng's father was the oldest among the 3 siblings. However, because he focused on his studies, he didn't get married until he was 27. As a result, Lu Cheng was 5 years younger than Lu Yanwei. When he entered the living room, the first thing he heard was the sound of the TV and cooking in the kitchen. A middle-aged man with white hair appeared in front of him. Second dad, grandma and second aunt are in the kitchen. He greeted with a smile. This was his second uncle, Lu Jiqiang. Well, the 3 siblings were called Jisheng, Jiqiang, and Jixian. Yes. We're waiting for your mom to help. Lu Jiqiang nodded. You're so capable. What else do you need me to help you with? What's the use of being a chef? Lu Cheng's mother, Qi Fang, said sarcastically. Lu Jiqiang was the best relative she always talked about. Lu Jiqiang didn't study much and chose to be a soldier. He entered the cookhouse class. After he transferred, he got married and became a driver in the Shushan City Health Bureau. As a car driver, he often got close to the leaders and had a good chance of becoming their confidant and getting a better career. However, the leaders changed again and again. After the other drivers left, he was still just a driver. In the words of his colleagues, this person had a bad mouth and was mean. Even if he didn't show it in front of the leaders, rumors would spread. Therefore, he was delayed again and again. Fortunately, he had gotten to know some people, so he decided to take a leave of absence and use his connections to contract a canteen. Because he was from the kitchen and had good culinary skills, coupled with his wife, Wang Lily, who was diligent and hardworking, he lived a prosperous life for the past few years. Lu Cheng's parents asked him for money during their most difficult time, but he refused. Moreover, Lu Cheng's grandparents felt that their eldest son was studying and had a promising future. They didn't need to take care of him. Their second son was not capable and needed help and subsidies. After 100 years, the house and inheritance would belong to him. Therefore, Lu Cheng's mother always complained. Of course, the responsibility of living together and taking care of the old couple was completely given to Lu Jiqiang and his wife. Hearing Qi Fang's sarcasm, Lu Jiqiang said embarrassedly, "There are more dishes to cook." In the past few years, the canteen business had declined, so he didn't contract a canteen anymore. His son was too troublesome, and the family's property was almost emptied. He was in a terrible fix, and his hair had turned white. He became taciturn and rarely spoke sarcastically. Although Qi Fang was sarcastic, she still went to the kitchen after a few sarcastic remarks. "Cheng, I'm going back to my room to play games. If I stay in the living room, I'll be nagged about my partner again." Lu Yanwei patted Lu Cheng on the shoulder and whispered, "You can't escape forever." Lu Cheng couldn't help but tease him. He had heard from his mother that his grandparents and second uncle thought that Lu Yanwei was too troublesome and wanted to find him a wife to control him and stabilize his temperament. "I'll live a carefree life as long as I can," Lu Yanwei replied with grief and indignation. After watching him enter the room, Lu Cheng turned to the sofa and called the old man sitting at the head of the table, "Grandpa." This hale and hearty white-haired old man was his grandfather, Lu Debong. He was partial to his second son and loved his grandson very much. Seeing Lu Cheng come over, he smiled and said, "How's life in school? Come on, have some strawberries." Sure enough, they're a family. They all asked the same questions. Lu Cheng thought to himself. He casually talked about school and then turned to a middle-aged woman coming out of the kitchen. He smiled and said, "Aunt, where's Cece?" "She's lying in the guest room. You can talk to her. Her grades have declined recently. I'll be satisfied if she's half as obedient as you are." Lu Jixian sighed. As a primary school teacher, she didn't teach her daughter well. "Okay." Lu Cheng agreed readily. "Hey, where's Uncle?" "Him. Jella kept saying that he wanted to buy a hand cannon, so I took him to the supermarket nearby." Lu Jixian pointed outside the window. Ma Jella was their youngest son, just 7 years old. He was 9 years younger than their eldest daughter, Ma Shi. Lu Cheng stood up and walked to the guest room. He saw a girl of 15 or 16 years old lying on the bed, playing with her mobile phone in the dim light. "Cece, why don't you say hello to me?" Lu Cheng smiled at the rebellious girl. Ma Shi looked cute with neat bangs. She pouted and said, "My mom must have asked you to come in and tell me to study hard, right?" "Okay, I won't say anything." Lu Cheng sat on the bed. "Why are you sulking here?" He could tell at a glance that his cousin was unhappy. Mushi's facial features were ordinary, but she was full of youthfulness. She said bitterly, "I don't want to go out and look at them. Ma Jiala, I think Ma Jiabao is better." Lu Cheng smiled and shook his head. "You're angry because of this?" Without waiting for Ma Shi's reply, he continued, "To be honest, my mom often complains that my grandparents are biased and that they always care about the house. But in my heart, I always feel that it's not a big deal. Especially recently, when I went abroad to study for half a semester and saw a lot of things, I don't take it to heart. I have hands and feet, I can study and I'm talented. Why should I care about that little thing? My vision is broadened and my ambition is higher, so I don't care about many things. That's right, in just 10 days, I've earned 15,000 yuan. Yes, the champion's prize for a professional 9th pin to 8th pin challenge tournament was more than 100,000 yuan. If he entered the professional martial arts circle and became a high-ranked expert, he wouldn't care about a house in a small city. Second brother, what are you trying to say? Ma Shi listened with great interest, but she knew that Lu Cheng was not just talking about this. Because of what happened to her younger brother Ma Jiala, she didn't have a good relationship with her father's relatives. Instead, she felt that Lu Yanwei and Lu Cheng were her biological brothers. Lu Cheng snorted. I'm telling you that it's useless to be angry. When you see more things, your vision is higher, and you're self-reliant, you won't care about your younger brother anymore. There's no need to fight over him. Your parents can love you, but you can love yourself. Ma Shi took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. Second brother, what you said makes sense. For you to broaden your vision and have the ability to be self-reliant, the best and most possible way is to study. Study well and go to a big school in a big city. In the future, you'll have the ability to make a living. Lu Cheng was serious at first, but then he suddenly smiled and said, So, study hard. Ma Shi was stunned and then raised her voice. Well, you're beating around the bush, but you still want to talk about study. I'm just saying. It's up to you whether you want to listen or not. Lu Cheng stood up and slowly walked out of the guest room. Watching his back disappear, Ma Shi was in a daze. After a long time, she said to herself, study hard. Chapter 88. Back in the living room, Lu Cheng sat on the other side of the sofa. While listening to the adults chatting, he took out his phone and sent a message to Yenjika. I've sent out the gifts. My parents like them very much. They said the design is very good. Yenjika said proudly with her teeth shining, look at whose taste it is. That's right. Your taste is much better than mine. Lu Cheng complimented, Coach Yen, please guide me in the future. Yenjika sent a shocked emoji. What else do you want to learn other than martial arts? Yeah. You're my life coach. Lu Cheng sent a snickering emoji. You'll help me solve my single problem. Yenjika sent an emoji of touching its chin and pondering. How can someone be your life mentor so casually? No matter what, we still have to pass the 81 trials. What tests? I'm ready. Lu Cheng sent a roaring emoji. Yenjika sent an emoji rolling its eyes. I haven't decided yet. Let's talk about it later. Alright then. Just now when my parents received the gift, they were saying, Aya, keep the money for yourself, while clutching the clothes tightly, as if they were afraid that I would snatch it back. Lu Cheng diverted the topic. Yenjika covered her mouth and laughed. Adults are all like this. Although they say no, their bodies are very honest. While they were chatting casually, Lu Cheng listened to what his grandparents were talking about. At the same time, he sent New Year greetings to Kai Zongming, Zhao Chang, Jiang Fei and other friends on QQ. At the same time, he browsed the Longhu Club forum. The forum was in a festive mood. Posts from friendly forum members were everywhere. Lu Cheng glanced through them and found the post of the little girl, Wonton Seller, replying to it with one sentence. Not long after, Wonton Seller, at him, little tiger, why haven't I seen you online recently? Are you busier during the holidays? Yes, I'm busy. I'm busy with training, visiting relatives, and meeting my high school classmates. But I'm also browsing the forum, just lurking and not talking. Lu Cheng replied. Due to the poor learning environment in junior high school, he didn't have much in common with his classmates and had stopped contacting them. The remaining few were basically childhood friends like Wang Su from kindergarten to junior high school. Wonton Seller sent a funny emoji. Are you here to wish everyone a Happy New Year? Yes. Happy New Year. Lu Cheng replied. Wonton Seller raised a big finger and shook it, insincere. Quick, join this group and send red envelopes to snatch them. Seeing this group ID, Lu Qing copied it and switched to QQ. He chose to search and found that the group name was Longhu Club Forum Spam Group. After answering the verification question with the nickname, Schrodinger's Tiger, Lu Qing was quickly added. There were only about 30 people in the group, most of whom he was familiar with. For example, the forum moderator, Pig Riding Knight, Wonton Seller, Above the Sky, a plumber eating mushrooms, Aquamarine, Brahman, Unparalleled Dragon King, Okamoto's Love, Invincible Punch, Road to the Arena, and so on. Lu Qing chuckled softly and sent a red packet of 20 RMB. In the blink of an eye, all the red packets were received. Pig Riding Knight said, "Welcome, little tiger. How's your martial arts training going?" "Not bad. I'm almost at the professional level." Lu Qing deliberately sent a laughing emoji with arms akimbo. Road to the Arena laughed, "You have to explain the specific meaning of the word fast. In terms of the scale of the universe, 3 to 5 years is unimaginably fast." The others joked one after another. The atmosphere was quite lively. Just then, Brahman sent a red packet with 20 red packets of 10 yuan. Lu Qing was inexperienced in snatching red packets. He missed the red packet as he was chatting with Yen Jika. He had to look at Brahman's profile picture. She must have used a picture of herself. Her hair was braided on both sides, hanging in front of her body. She had delicate features and looked quite cute. She's really a kid in the first grade. Lu Qing whispered to himself. He had heard on the forum that Brahman had just graduated from primary school and looked very childish. Her post seemed to confirm this, but he couldn't be sure after seeing the picture with his own eyes. "Those who have received my red packet, go and support this post for me." Brahman sent a whip-waving emoji with a link to the post. Although he didn't get a red packet, Lu Qing clicked on it out of curiosity. He saw the title, "Lu Qing Forum is here to give a New Year's greeting. Welcome to visit again and increase your popularity, Lu Qing Forum." What the hell is this? Lu Qing's mouth was half open. He was stunned. There is such a thing as Lu Qing Forum? He was stunned for a moment and clicked on the link in the post. The new forum page opened. The first thing he saw was his own picture standing in the arena. Damn, it's really my forum. When was it set up? Lu Qing was surprised, excited, and happy at the same time. He looked down at the introductory text of the forum. This is the private forum of Lu Qing of the Martial Arts Club of Songqing University. Everything about him is recorded here. Welcome to join us and protect his growth. Protect. Lu Qing muttered to himself. He looked at the moderator position and saw an ID called Eternal Nightfall, while the deputy moderator was called Brahman. She really sees me as her new idol? For a moment, Lu Qing was a little proud and complacent. He swiped and clicked on the top post, about Lu Qing. In the main post, Eternal Nightfall wrote, "Lu Qing is a student of Songqing University and a member of the Martial Arts Club. He participated in the first Phoenix Cup Warrior Sage Candidate Challenge Tournament and got the 8th place as a fighter with no rank. He defeated 2 mighty ones of professional 9th pin. Below are the videos, photos and links to related news. He is a boy who smiles foolishly. I feel that he should be a very warm person and definitely very considerate. But when he stands on the arena, he is filled with confidence. He is crazy and ferocious, extremely handsome. I am his second fan. I hope to record every detail of his growth." The second post was a reply from Brahman. In my mind, Lu Qing was a very mysterious master until I saw this video of him. But this doesn't stop me from liking him. Once a silly boy is in the arena, he can bloom with dazzling brilliance and defeat strong opponents. Isn't that more mysterious and charming? I am his first fan. I hope to accompany him as he grows. Lu Qing's expression became softer and softer as he read, and his smile became more and more obvious. But he said, "This dark history spreads fast." After exiting the top post, he saw the videos, photos, and related news of the Warrior Sage Candidate Challenge tournament. They were classified and organized very clearly. They were more complete than his own. In addition to these posts, there was also a return visit post from Pig Riding Night, and a puzzle post from Eternal Nightfall. She said that the number of visitors recorded in the backend had increased recently, but why were only the two of them still paying attention to them? Brahman guessed that it was the result of her advertising everywhere. At the same time, Eternal Nightfall posted all over the place, saying that she would die if there was no new news from Lu Cheng. At the end of the page, there were the posts of the two moderators fighting for the title of the first fan. Lu Cheng read them one by one. The more he read, the more obvious his smile became. Using the words of a novel to describe it, his heart was warm, full, and full. He originally wanted to follow the post, but after thinking about it, he decided that it was better to just watch silently. He didn't want to disturb the two little guys talking to themselves. He just posted a post in the return visit post of Pig Riding Night. He exited the forum and came to the group. He at D. Brahman. I've visited her. I feel that your moderator is very young. About the same age as you? Brahman used 10 times the size of a smiley face and said, "Thank you, little tiger." Little Nightfall, I feel that she is younger than me. She should be a primary school student. I am her father. Primary school student. Lu Cheng's mouth twitched. Did he have the potential to attract Lolas? One is the moderator, the other is the deputy moderator. Neither of them is 14 years old. In the warm room, Yan Shaoling was browsing the forum. Suddenly, she sneezed and said to herself, "Who is talking about me?" She quickly collected her thoughts and thought about a very important thing. Well, I've decided to enter the School of Arts of Songqing University this year. When it was almost time for dinner, Lu Cheng's uncle, Ma Guoqin, finally came back with his youngest son, Ma Jiala. "Uncle, where have you been? You took so long?" Lu Cheng asked with a smile. Ma Guoqin pretended to be angry and said, "This kid is too naughty. He bought a hand cannon and wanted to shoot it immediately. I had to accompany him. He used to be a colleague of Lu Cheng's father, Lu Jisheng, and worked as a driver in a truck team. After the company went bankrupt, he was bold enough to ask a few of his colleagues to help him with long-distance freight transportation. It was very tiring, but he also made some money. In recent years, after the rise of online car hailing, he simply quit and bought a car with his savings. At the same time, he also worked part-time as a personal assistant. Speaking of which, most of Lu Cheng's family came from that bankrupt company, which was also a characteristic of that era. Fortunately, when the company went bankrupt, Lu Cheng's grandfather and grandmother had already retired and transferred their pension to them, so they were not too affected. For a period of time, Lu Cheng's family was very poor. He went to his grandfather's house every 2 or 3 days to have a good meal. Second uncle Lu Jiqiang was not mean and treated him well. At the dinner table, the family, who had gotten rid of their previous predicament, no longer looked worried. They talked and laughed, and the atmosphere was lively and warm. Even Lu Yanwei, who had just closed the restaurant, felt relieved. After all, they didn't owe him money, did they? At least they had a job, right? Seeing this scene, Lu Cheng's grandfather and grandmother rubbed their eyes, feeling very sentimental. The old couple was also very interesting. When Lu Cheng was a child, he knew that his grandmother had a bad temper and his grandfather was in charge of everything at home. However, in recent years, his grandfather's temper had become more and more eccentric. His grandmother, on the other hand, was much kinder, but she was in charge of everything at home. The family ate and chatted, and sat together to accompany the old people to watch the TV show. At 10 o'clock, Lu Cheng's family of 3 got up and left. They had planned to call a taxi, but Uncle Ma Guoqin gave them a ride, which saved them a lot of trouble. Lu Cheng first sat on the sofa and continued to chat with his parents and watch TV. When he heard the sound of firecrackers around 11:40, he got up and went to the balcony. He pulled out his phone's contact list and called Yan Jika. The reason why he called so early was to avoid any unexpected changes. What if Yenjika had other calls around midnight? Hello, Cheng. Yenjika's familiar soft and clear voice came through. Lu Cheng deliberately said excitedly, I have something to tell you. I just called Coach Shi to wish him a happy new year. He proposed the actual combat training plan for next semester. Actual combat training? Yenjika suddenly became excited. Lu Cheng laughed and said, he said that I've reached the level of a quasi-professional. With your cousin and your growth, we can form a team to participate in the preliminaries after the new year. Preliminaries. Yenjika's voice slightly raised, revealing obvious excitement and excitement. I can't believe we can participate in the preliminaries. Yes, I was also like that. That was a surging emotion. Lu Cheng said from the heart. At this time, Yenjika's voice suddenly lowered a bit. I don't know if I have a chance to participate. I don't know if my current level is enough to be a substitute. You've made some progress in meditation, and you have a good foundation. Plus your family's kung fu, I think it won't be a problem for you to reach the level of amateur third pin after the new year. You can be a substitute. Lu Cheng hurried to comfort her. Well, I have to work harder. I'll get up early on the first day of the new year to train and make a good start. Yenjika said with hatred. Lu Cheng could almost imagine her clenched fist and pouting mouth. He couldn't help but smile. By the way, what's your cousin's level now? He changed the topic in order to stall for time and wait for midnight. As expected, Yenjika's attention was diverted. She pondered for a while and said, he's training like crazy. Grandpa said his chi and blood have reached the peak of this level. The next step is to converge his chi and blood to become one. This process may take at least a few months, or at most 3 to 5 years. She didn't mention the possibility of failure. She was very confident in Lin Quebec. Lu Cheng followed along and started the conversation. Unknowingly, time flew by. Suddenly, the sound of firecrackers broke out around them. It was so loud that he couldn't hear anything else. The same sound came from the phone. It was 12 o'clock. New Year's Eve was over, and New Year's Day was coming. After a few minutes, the sound of firecrackers weakened. Lu Cheng was happy that the call was not cut off. He heard the light breathing sound on the other side of the phone. He thought Yenjika could hear him too. Hearing the sound of her breathing, he calmed down and felt peaceful and happy. Leaning against the wall, he pursed his lips and whispered with a smile, Happy New Year. The other side of the phone replied with a smile and whispered back, Happy New Year. Warmth grew and joy echoed. Looking at the brilliant fireworks outside, Lu Cheng added in a low voice, Happy New Year. Yenjika replied with a smile, You should be happy too. Her voice wasn't loud, but it seemed to scratch Lu Cheng's heart. They didn't say anything unnecessary. They quietly listened to each other's breathing and the sound of firecrackers to get rid of the old and welcome the new. It was the first year again. After a while, Yenjika said, Are you still going to practice tomorrow? Of course. I won't get seriously ill. If there are no accidents, I have to persevere. The new year needs a better start. Besides, you have to get up early to practice. You can't lose to your example. Lu Cheng replied with a smile. Suddenly, Yenjika said fiercely, Then why don't you go to bed? You have to get up at 5:30. Look at the time. Being scolded like this, Lu Cheng didn't get angry. Instead, he laughed and said, I'm waiting to say Happy New Year to you. Well, I have to go to bed too. Wake up early, wake up early. Yenjika murmured and raised her voice. Cheng, good night, Coach Yen, good night too. Sweet dreams. Lu Cheng smiled and waited for Yenjika to hang up first. Back in the living room, he was overjoyed. Seeing his parents, he blurted out, Dad, Mom, Happy New Year. I'm really happy. P.S. It seems that Shang Sanjiang has been rejected. I don't know if there are any Sanjiang tickets in Sanjiang now. If there are, please give me one. Chapter 89. Lu Cheng's parents were confused by Lu Cheng's sudden blessing. They stared at him blankly and didn't respond, as if they were hallucinating. After a few seconds, Lu Cheng's mother, Qi Fang, laughed and said, "Why are you saying this to your family? Do you have to be so polite? It's just a whim." Lu Cheng laughed and said, "I'm going to take a shower and sleep. I'll continue training tomorrow morning." He complained in his heart. Sure enough, after growing up, he was treated differently from when he was a child. One of the things that his mother always bragged about was that when he was learning how to speak, he would suddenly follow the people on TV and wish them a happy new year. But now, such words were not surprising, only frightening. Hearing that Lu Cheng was going to get up early to train on the first day of Chinese New Year, Qi Fang felt sorry for him. It's Chinese New Year. Rest for a few days. It's already so late. Lack of sleep is bad for your body. It's okay, it's okay. He took out the red packets he had received today and put them into his wallet. His grandparents had given every child except Lu Yanwei 500 yuan. His second father and his aunt had given him 500 yuan each, which added up to 1,500 yuan. This was the main source of his secret savings. His parents had given him 500 yuan each. Ma Shi and Ma Jiala had given him 500 yuan each, and his grandparents had given him 1,500 yuan each. This was the main source of his secret savings. His parents, on the other hand, had given Ma Shi and Ma Jiala 500 yuan each, and his grandparents 1,000 yuan each. After a shower, he adjusted his breathing and entered a meditative state to avoid insomnia due to excitement. With a clear mind, Lu Cheng soon fell into a deep sleep. When he woke up, the alarm clock rang. He changed his clothes, brushed his teeth, and washed his face. He was full of energy. He sent a message to Yan Jika saying, "The handsome one is up." Then he took his phone and keys and left the house. The sky was still dark, the clouds had accumulated, and the street lights were dim. Lu Cheng faced the piercing cold wind and jogged on the quiet and empty road to the People's Park. Occasionally, he could see the cleaners cleaning up the remains of yesterday's firecrackers. That was the last trace of a grand carnival. When he arrived at his destination, there was a glimmer of light in the sky. But because it was the first day of Chinese New Year, the place was not as crowded as usual. Only a few old men were still training, so he didn't have to go to the other side of the artificial lake and easily found a secluded place. Yin-yang stance, condensation stance, training routine, 24 blizzard strikes, lightning and fire stance, big and small hand wrap. A new year must have a good start. Inside the Gushan Martial Arts School, Dai Linfeng, Qin Rui, and the others were sleeping all over the place. Beer bottles and bowls with leftovers could be seen everywhere. If it wasn't for the heating and blankets in this room, one or two of them would have frozen to death. Dai Linfeng's phone kept vibrating, waking him up from his deep sleep. He rubbed his head and looked around blankly, as if he had amnesia. When he picked up his phone, he finally remembered why he was sleeping here. It was New Year's Eve last night. After spending the New Year with his family, he received a call from Qin Rui and the other senior and junior brothers, saying that they wanted everyone to stay up late and be happy, so that they could relax for the selection competition after the New Year. "Hey, Xiaofei. What's the matter? Why are you calling so early?" He saw that the caller was Tao Xiaofei, the playboy. Outside the window, the sky was just getting bright. Tao Xiaofei lowered his voice. He was a little excited and nervous. "Brother Feng, guess who I saw? I saw the guy who bumped into you that day. Didn't you say that he played a trick on you and made you lose the competition?" Dai Linfeng was shocked. Without waiting for him to finish, he asked, "How did you see him? Where did you see him?" According to his master, that guy was probably a professional ninth pin. A professional ninth pin with supernatural ability or some kind of strange unique skill. Tao Xiaofei answered quickly. "Last night, after our family celebrated Chinese New Year, I went out to the bar again. Then I heard that there were some new girls in Crown's bar, so I went there with them and played until dawn. I took one out and planned to have some car sex with her at the nearby Tongshio River. Then I saw that guy practicing on the embankment. Yes, it must be him. I remember that feeling very clearly. Brother Feng, do you want to take revenge? Take your brothers and surround him. 2 fists can't beat 4 hands. What can he do? He seemed to be very interested in this kind of thing and found it very exciting. At this time, Qin Rui and another disciple were awakened by him. They looked over in a daze. Dai Linfeng waved his hand to signal them to be quiet. He said to Tao Xiaofei in a low voice, "Stay away from him first. Don't let him find out. I have to ask my master about this kind of thing." At the peak of the body refining state, it was indeed difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands. 5 or 6 amateur third pin masters were enough to surround him and kill him. Even ordinary people with knives and daggers would stand a chance if they had more people. But the question was, how many casualties could they withstand? How much would they be willing to pay? For example, if 5 or 6 amateur third pin masters wanted to surround and kill a professional 9th pin fighter, they would have to sacrifice at least half of them. This was without considering the collapse of morale. Dai Linfeng didn't want to see his fellow disciples die in front of him, not to mention dealing with the aftermath that gave him a headache just thinking about it. Therefore, he was worried about direct revenge and decided to discuss it with his master, Chu Weikai. He quickly hung up the phone. Without looking at Qin Rui and the others, he dialed his master's phone. Chu Weicai's qi and blood began to decline. He slept early and woke up early. At this time, he was already eating longevity noodles on the first day of the new year. He picked up the phone and said hello. "Master, I have a friend who saw that professional 9th pin. He's still in Shushan." Dai Linfeng said concisely. Chu Weikai put down the chopsticks in his right hand and lightly tapped the table. After a moment of silence, he said, "Don't get involved in this matter. The storms of the Jianghu aren't something you can handle right now. Just give Zhang Mingle a call and tell him the news." "Yes, master." Dai Linfeng answered respectfully and then searched for Zhang Mingle's spare number. Zhang Mingle was the famous Master Lo in the underworld circle of Shushan. He used to practice martial arts with his master and was an amateur first pin master in his heyday. However, after years of smoking, drinking, money and sex, it was hard to say what level he was still at. But his 2 subordinates, Zhang Biao and He Wei, were not easy to deal with either of them. They were taught by his master and restrained. If he faced any one of them, he only had a 60 to 70% chance of winning. As for his master, he used to be a professional 9th pin master in his prime. He was muddle-headed and mingled in the underworld circle of Shushan and became one of the few big bosses. However, he was plotted against in a dispute and was seriously injured. Since then, he had no hope of reaching the Dan stage. He was deeply regretful and quit. Today, he often said that if it weren't for his frivolity, he would have developed the martial arts club and left Shushan. He found the number and dialed it. After a few rings, Dai Linfeng heard Zhang Mingle's familiar voice. "Hey, Junior Dai, why are you looking for me so early in the morning? I have a friend who saw that professional 9th pin master. He's still in Shushan," Dai Linfeng said. There was a moment of silence on the other side of the phone. Then a suppressed voice came. "He hasn't left yet." "Where is he?" "He's practicing on the embankment behind the Crown Bar on Tongshio River," Dai Linfeng said honestly. "Junior Dai, as your brother, I'm very grateful. You don't have to worry about this. I'll take care of it." Zhang Mingle exhaled. After ending the call, Dai Linfeng met the eyes of Qin Rui and other brothers. He laughed and said, "Tao Xiaofei saw that professional 9th pin master who bumped into me. But our master told us not to get involved and let Master Le handle it." Qin Rui was young and full of curiosity. He took a breath and said, "Senior Dai, we won't get involved, but we can go and watch. We can meet with Tao Xiaofei and hide in the car to see how Master Lo will deal with that guy." Dai Linfeng was stunned and nodded slightly. Okay, let's go find Tao Xiaofei. It was this guy who made him lose face in front of the chairman and caused the martial arts club to lose this year's resources. In a secret hiding place, Zhang Mingle, who was half lying on the bed, gripped his phone tightly. His facial muscles were twisted and looked extremely ferocious. He was still wrapped in bandages and dripping. That King Jian Lao San, he won't stop. Damn it, he still dares to stay in Shushan. Does he really think I'm a sick cat? He gritted his teeth. That professional ninth pin master hid in Shushan for so many days. It went without saying why. That guy wanted to try again when he felt safe. Zhang Mingle gritted his teeth when he thought of that kick and almost died. But when he saw Zhang Wei and He Biao coming in from outside, he calmed down. One of his two Vidras was on crutches and the other was tied up like a mummy. It would take at least 3 to 5 months for them to recover. He took a breath, picked up the phone and called the other men. Su Zai, come over here for a while. Be careful, don't be followed. We'll talk about the details later. 15 minutes later, the 5 of them, led by Wang Su, gathered at the hiding spot. This was also thanks to the fact that the road was empty early in the morning. Zhang Mingle said seriously, that professional ninth pin master has been found. He's still in Shushan. We can't take this lying down. We have to teach them a lesson. As he spoke, he opened the box in front of him, revealing 5 black handguns shining with a metallic luster. Then he looked at Wang Su and the other 5 and said, these are goods from the south. They're of good quality. You've tested them many times. Today, they'll come in handy. Take them and kill that guy. I'll take care of the rest. When the time comes, you guys can go into hiding and come back in 1 or 2 years. Anyway, whether you succeed or not, I guarantee you won't be short of money for the rest of your life. Wang Su's expression changed slightly. Then he straightened his back under Zhang Mingle's gaze and said, don't worry, Master Lu. Leave it to us. Good. The rest of you, leave your phones here in case the news gets leaked. If there are any changes, I'll tell Su Zai. After the raid on the bar, Wang Su had entered Zhang Mingle's inner circle. This time, he was able to keep his phone as a communication tool. Coming out of the hiding place, they came to the back of the Crown Bar. From afar, they saw someone practicing boxing on the embankment. Suddenly, Wang Su's heart tightened. He didn't feel safe. 5 men with 5 guns seemed to be very powerful. There was a high possibility that they could kill that professional ninth pin master. But they were gangsters, not policemen, soldiers, or killers. It was normal for them to touch a gun once every 2 or 3 months. To suddenly attack a professional ninth pin master, they were not sure. And the attack of a professional ninth pin master was quite terrifying. He might not be able to withstand a punch or kick. He looked at the terrain and said to the other 4 men, we can't go directly. The view on the embankment is broad. He can find us from far away. Once he escapes, we can't catch up with him. It's better to wait for an opportunity on his way back. Yes, Brother Su is right. The others agreed. Seeing this, Wang Su picked up his phone and said to the other men, I'll report to Master Lu. Slightly turning his back to the others, he dialed Lu Cheng's number first. Hello, hello. That professional ninth pin master is indeed on the embankment of the Tongxiu River behind the Crown Bar. We don't dare to approach. Hello, hello, we are afraid of being discovered. Hello, hello, there's no problem with the guns. We plan to ambush him on his way back. Hello, hello, what kind of broken signal is this? Wang Su pretended to hang up the phone and dialed again. This time, it was the real Zhang Mingle. In a secluded place in People's Park, Lu Qing held his phone and pursed his lips. He was worried and angry at the same time. Do I have the ability to get involved with a professional ninth pin master who is involved in gangs, guns, and secret mental skills? I'm just a freaking freshman. Wang Su, you are trying to kill me. Do you think I owe you something? Why do you need me for this kind of thing? If you knew this, why didn't you listen to my advice? While thinking, he really wanted to press the button on his phone and say, "Hello, is this a police call?" But after thinking for a moment, he gave up on doing so directly. Gangs definitely had protection in the police system. It was easy for them to leak information. This was equivalent to selling Wang Su out. Therefore, he had to find a trustworthy police officer. Although he had no connections, he could ask others for help. First, Yenjika had mentioned that her grandfather had many disciples in the police force. She and her mother lived in Shushan, so it was natural for them to know a few local police officers with real power. Second, his master was a former mighty one with physical invulnerability. He had a well-developed network and seemed to be in a high position. He could even interfere with the preliminaries. It was normal for him to have connections with the police force, where fighters held real power. Who should he find? This was a problem. But no matter what, he couldn't recklessly get involved in this kind of thing. He had a good relationship with Wang Su, but he didn't need to risk his life for him. He was not Yenjika, nor was he his parents. P.S. Updated in advance on Monday. Please recommend Sanjiang tickets. Chapter 90. Who should I find? All of a sudden, Lu Cheng's mind was filled with this question. Normally speaking, it would be the most reasonable choice to ask Yenjika for help because her family was also a native of Shushan. If she had a good relationship with the local police force, she would probably know the background of Lu and Jian Lao San so that she could avoid those protective shields and find the most suitable candidate. But there were 3 drawbacks. First, it was not Yenjika's own relationship. Even if she agreed, she would have to ask her mother or even her grandfather for help. If there was a turnover in the middle, she might be delayed or rejected. The second reason was that he usually asked Yenjika for help. It was a good thing to increase the contact between them and build feelings through interaction. He enjoyed it, but he always felt embarrassed to ask for help from her family. Maybe this was the so-called self-esteem. Third, even if Yenjika's mother and grandfather agreed, it was inevitable that they would have a bad impression of him. For example, if he was involved with the mafia, a decadent youth who was not willing to learn good things, or a troublesome guy who broke the rules with martial arts, how could he come to visit them in the future? How could he meet his father-in-law and mother-in-law? How could he pass this test? If one did not consider the future, there would be immediate worries. After thinking about this, Lu Qing quickly made a decision and dialed his master's number. While waiting for the call to be answered, he couldn't help but praise himself. I really think far ahead. Even if I haven't taken any shape yet. Hey, shouldn't you be practicing martial arts at this time? Did something go wrong? Soon, Gizershur's slightly puzzled voice came from the receiver. It was urgent, so Lu Qing didn't beat around the bush and said directly, "Master, I need your help. I have a childhood friend." He told Gizershur about Wang Su in a few words and explained the cause and effect clearly. Gizershur coughed twice and said, "Not bad. You know how to call me instead of rushing over to get involved. This shows that you still have some brains. Otherwise, this old man wouldn't have accepted such an idiot as my disciple. I'll help you find him. Wait for my call." "Thank you, Master." "Thank you, Master." Lu Qing thanked him repeatedly. This was already a great favor for Wang Su. A few minutes later, Gizershur called back with a slightly smug tone. "I, your master, am in charge. Isn't this a piece of cake? Remember this phone number and call him directly. He is the deputy director of the Shushan police station, who is in charge of the underworld affairs. Don't worry. No matter whether the 2 sides have connections with him or not, how can he have a stronger connection than your master? There are some things that he knows how to do. Master, you're really amazing. You really have a wide circle of friends." Lu Qing sincerely praised. He squatted down and slid his finger on the soil to write a number. Then, he hurriedly dialed it. After a short ringtone, a steady and magnetic voice came from the other side. "Hello, is this Lu?" Yes, yes, yes. Hello, Director Xing. Lu Cheng was stunned. Has my master already mentioned me to you? Director Xing laughed heartily and said, I've heard a lot about Senior Shi. Lu, let me ask you a few details. Just now, your teacher gave a brief explanation. Okay. Lu Cheng said happily in his heart. After 3 or 4 details, Director Xing laughed and said, Lu, don't worry. Leave this to me. I'll take care of it. If I can't get in touch with him, I'll lead the team directly. Thank you, Director Xing. Lu Cheng was a little relieved and then called Wang Su back. Based on his knowledge of the surroundings, Wang Su had confirmed that the professional ninth pin fighter lived in one of the old residential areas behind the Crown Bar. So, he waited for an opportunity at the intersection of the street and the road leading to the embankment. Because it was the first day of the new year, most of the breakfast stalls here were not open. Only 1 or 2 that had to rely on this for a living were still open, providing hot food for the people who had played all night in the bar nearby. Wang Su and 4 thugs were pretending to be passers-by, sitting around a simple table, watching the white-haired stall owner cook noodles in a big iron pot. The cold wind blowing through the street was bone-chilling. The phone rang. Wang Su glanced at it and his face changed slightly. Then, he immediately put on a smile and said, Hello, Lu. What can I do for you? With the experience of the last call, Lu Cheng was not surprised. He said calmly, I've called the police. I asked someone to find a trustworthy police. His solution was to scare off both sides with the arrival of the police, in case something irreparable happened. Even if Wang Su was arrested, with his relationship with Director Xing, and the gun did not belong to him, it was still possible to fight for a lenient sentence. At that time, he would not dare to follow Lu anymore. As for the professional ninth pin fighter with the secret mental skill, since he had been exposed and attracted a large number of police, he would not dare to continue to stay in Shushan. All his schemes would have to be put on hold. Things would calm down. The only problem was whether Lu would suspect Wang Su of leaking the information and do harm to him. He could only rely on Director Xing's plan. As a freshman, he really could not take care of everything. Hearing this, Wang Su frowned. This was not what he had expected. But now, he could only accept it. After all, no matter what, it was better than fighting to the death with a professional ninth pin master. If he was not careful, he would really die, and there would be no tomorrow. If he hadn't witnessed the terror of a professional ninth pin fighter during the raid on the bar, with his usual hot-blooded courage and willingness to risk his life, he might have had the guts to do it. Okay. We'll be patient and wait. When the time comes, we'll try to solve it in 2 or 3 moves. Wang Su answered with a respectful look. He glanced at the 4 thugs beside him and glanced at their faces one by one. He noticed the cool earrings, the tattoos on their necks, heavy eye bags, and slightly trembling bodies. In the People's Park, Lu Cheng moved the phone away from his ear and fell into deep thought again. Normally, to do this, he had used up a lot of favors, so he had a clear conscience. But after all, he was still worried that something bad would happen. For example, Director Xing could not get in touch with the professional ninth pin fighter, so he could not directly scare the professional ninth pin fighter away and put an end to the matter. For example, before the police arrived, 2 groups of people would meet on a narrow road. Lu Cheng paced back and forth, took a deep breath and exhaled. He walked out of the park and planned to take a taxi to the Crown Bar. Well, I won't get close. I'll hide and watch. I won't interfere. I'll see if I have a chance to help Wang Su at the critical moment. If not, I won't take the risk. And in the early morning of the first day of the new year, online taxis were rare. If he could not make it, it could only be said that Wang Su had done his best and had a clear conscience. A black car drove across the road and stopped in front of the BMW 7 Series. Dai Linfeng took out his phone and called Tao Xiaofei. Xiaofei, did you see us? Brother Feng, when are we going to do it? Tao Xiaofei sat in the driver's seat and hugged a woman in disheveled clothes. He was very excited. From Dai Linfeng's seat, he could see the figure practicing boxing on the embankment. He could also see the streets of several old residential areas and the steaming iron pot on the right. He had a good view and said cautiously, "If we don't do it, someone else will do it." "Xiaofei, will he be alerted if we stop here?" "Don't worry, Brother Feng. There are many cars parked here. Who will be suspicious?" Tao Xiaofei said casually. In the black car, Qin Rui, who had to lower his head and shrink his back to sit, looked in the direction of the embankment and whispered, "It's really that guy. I don't know how Lu is going to teach him a lesson." He was very curious about this and also a little excited like Tao Xiaofei. As time went by, Lu Qing appeared on the other side of the street. After he left the People's Park, he met a taxi not long after and soon it arrived at the nearby area. Looking at the figure of the breakfast stall at the intersection, he did not go closer. He put his hands in his pockets and hid in the shadow of the road, waiting for the police with a distance of about 50 meters between them. Hope nothing unexpected happens. Wang Su was also looking forward to the police and praying to God. However, God did not seem to hear his voice. The wolf-like professional ninth pin came back along the road. He was dressed in a black training suit, looking capable and valiant. His eyes flickered with a cold light as he glanced around from time to time, as if he was already used to this. Dai Lin Feng, Qin Rui, Tao Xiaofei, and the others subconsciously held their breaths. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly for fear of being discovered. The dark film of the window blocked the view. The professional ninth pin man glanced at the several parked cars and turned into the street. In front of him was the noodle stall and the familiar iron pot that he saw every day. Around the simple table sat 5 young men who seemed to be gangsters. Did they just come out of the bar? The man in the black exercise suit sized them up. He could not help but squint because the 5 of them looked a little nervous. 2 of them did not even have a hangover. Wang Su was also nervous. He cursed in his heart why the police were not here yet. He put his hand down and touched the gun at his waist. At this point, he had to take action. Otherwise, how could he bear Li's anger later? If he did not dare to take action without a reason, it would be a light punishment if his hands and feet were broken. He exchanged glances with the other 4 and nodded slightly. Suddenly, they stood up together, pulled out their pistols and aimed at the dangerous professional ninth pin man. The distance between them was less than 5 meters. With their little practice, it was enough for them to hit him. At this moment, the man in the black exercise suit suddenly shouted. His eyes flashed with a green light and his momentum rose. Wang Su and the 4 thugs felt as if they were in the open wilderness facing a terrifying giant wolf. Their bodies and minds trembled and paused. A short pause was the difference between life and death. Instead of retreating, the man in the black exercise suit moved forward as fast as an arrow. He rushed to the front of the 5 in a few big strides. His muscles contracted, he leaned sideways and lowered his shoulder. He suddenly burst out and hit the thug with the earring, knocking the gun in his hand to the ground and breaking the bones between his chest and abdomen. The thug let out a painful howl. With a crack, the thug flew backward and hit Wang Su and the other 2 thugs. They staggered a few steps and could not shoot at all. It was as if everything was calculated. At the same time, the man in black exercise clothes used his back as an axis and gathered all the strength in his body. He leaned to the side to avoid any possible random shots. He tightened his thigh muscles, and with a bang, he took the opportunity to whip his leg upward. He straightened his instep and kicked high into the air, right in the temple of the tattooed fighter who did not retreat. Bang! The strength poured in and suddenly exploded. The tattooed thug felt his brain explode and instantly lost consciousness. Under this terrifying strength, his 2 eyeballs burst out and fell into the big iron pot, staining the bubbling water red. This. Qin Rui, Tao Xiaofei, and the others were trembling with fear as if they had encountered a demon from hell. It was not terrible to kick a person to death with a whip leg. What was terrible was to squeeze the eyeballs out of their sockets. What kind of terrifying power was this? Wang Su and the other two thugs stood firm and did not care about their companions. They only slightly aimed and pulled the trigger together. Bang! 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 3 loud sounds like firecrackers burst out, but the man in the black exercise suit suddenly disappeared. He fell to the ground with the momentum of the kick and rolled forward to avoid the 3 bullets. After a roll, he had already arrived in front of the thug with heavy eye bags. He did not get up, but straightened his back, pressed his left hand down, and clenched his right hand into a fist. He fiercely punched between the thug's legs. Bang! The thug with heavy eye bags screamed miserably and dropped his gun. He covered his crotch with both hands and rolled on the ground. Blood and urine kept flowing out. Seeing this situation, Wang Su, who had failed to shoot, and the thug, who was already trembling a little, lost all courage. Their companion's eyeballs flew out, his face with a black hole mixed with blood, and the flowing urine instantly flashed in their minds. Without any thinking, driven by instinct, they collapsed and fled to the other side of the street in panic. They did not seize the best opportunity with the guns in their hands. The man in the black exercise suit saw this and sighed. He had reached his limit in the fight just now. If the other party had not been scared away, he would not have stood up and lost his mobility. He was afraid that he would have to take 1 or 2 bullets. As for whether he would die, be disabled, or be lucky not to be hit, he could only leave it to fate. He stood up like a carp and picked up the big iron pot in front of the boss, who was paralyzed with fear. He rushed forward and poured the pot in front of him. Ah! Wang Su and the remaining thugs were drenched by the boiling water. They screamed and fell to the ground. The man in black exercise clothes threw away the iron pot and caught up with them in large strides. Viciousness appeared on his face. He kicked the remaining thug's throat with his strength from his shoulder to his waist, from his waist to his legs, and from his legs to his toes. The screams stopped abruptly. The man in the black exercise suit looked gloomy and kicked again at Wang Su. Bang! A foot appeared in his line of sight, blocking the fatal kick. He raised his head and saw a teenager in a white martial arts suit with black edges. Lu Cheng. In the car, Qin Roy suddenly sat up straight and hit his head on the roof. P.S. Please recommend Sanjiang tickets. Chapter 91. Lu Cheng. Qin Roy, who was more than 1.9 meters tall, never liked compact cars because he had to lower his head to sit in them. But at this moment, he completely forgot about this. He straightened his back and hit his head on the roof of the car. Instinctively, he began to grimace. However, all this could not diminish the shock, astonishment, and confusion in his eyes. Did I see it wrong? The one standing in front of the man in black exercise clothes is actually my high school classmate, Lu Cheng. Why is he here? Why does he dare to stop that extremely dangerous professional 9th pin master? Didn't he see that someone was kicked in the temple by that horrible devil, and his eyes burst out? Didn't he see the hideous scene of feces, urine, and blood on the ground? He has only practiced martial arts for half a year. He is simply reckless. Qin Roy subconsciously wanted to go out and help, to save the high school classmate he had just met a few days ago. However, the horrifying scene just now replayed in his mind, and a huge fear gripped his heart tightly, making him not dare to move in the slightest. He could only watch helplessly. Lu Cheng. In the BMW car, Tao Xiaofei's eyes almost popped out. He held his female companion's hand and squeezed it so hard that she jerked back and cried out in pain. For Tao Xiaofei, Lu Cheng's appearance in such a scene was a very sci-fi thing. He had no reason or strength to participate in such a terrible conflict. When the man in black exercise clothes punched his opponent's lower part, he was so scared that he almost lost control of his bladder. How could a good student like Lu Cheng dare to face this strong man who was like a devil? Tao Xiaofei seemed to be able to imagine Lu Cheng's miserable end. Incontinence, broken bones, and maybe even missing some parts. He had a feeling that he could not bear to look at it directly. He turned his head, took out his phone, and planned to call the police. Lu Cheng, I don't have martial arts, so I dare not stop you. I can only do my best to help you. From calling the police, to sending the police, to arriving, Lu Cheng probably died 17 or 18 times. Lu Cheng, Dai Lin Feng and other Gushan martial arts school disciples had a deep impression of Lu Cheng, who first pointed out the mental influence problem that day. But they did not want to risk their lives for a stranger. They even looked at Qin Rui together. Once he acted impulsively, they would immediately stop him. That professional ninth pin master is too scary. Was this the strength of an expert who grew up on the brink of death? At this moment, Dai Linfeng's eyes turned cold. He saw a squad of police cars speeding over from the rearview mirror. There were no flashing lights or sounding sirens. The police car is here. But it's too late. This is a one-way street because of the random parking. They'll need at least 1 minute to get here. In that time, the rookie Lu Cheng would have been beaten to a pulp. Literally beaten to a pulp. His thoughts wandered. Stepping on the wet ground, Lu Cheng didn't know why he was here. According to his original plan, the most he would do was to give Wang Su a hand and not fight to the death with such a terrifying enemy. However, when he saw Wang Su being drenched in boiling water, falling to the ground and screaming, and the familiar face distorted beyond recognition, his blood rushed to his brain and he became impulsive. He followed the shadows on the side of the road and approached quickly, finally blocking the fatal kick. Since he had already made his move, he had already faced the terrifying expert who had taken his life with one move. He immediately threw all his hesitation and thoughts to the back of his mind. He calmed his mind, guarded his dantian, and entered meditation. He allowed his thoughts to freeze and turn into condensed water. This will be a real life and death battle with no referee or audience. The winner lives, the loser dies. If he didn't have the actual combat experience when he saved Wang Su, he might be trembling with fear or unable to concentrate. Fortunately, the worst situation didn't happen. He even had the advantage of knowing the enemy. He knew that the enemy had a secret mental skill, and that the police could come at any time. He knew that the enemy wouldn't be willing to fight for a long time. Correspondingly, the enemy didn't know anything about him. This might be the hope of his survival. The thought flashed through his mind. But in an instant, Lu Cheng pressed the tip of his tongue against his teeth and constantly adjusted his muscles. He was ready and had a strategy to deal with the enemy. He would fight with the mercurial balance and force the enemy to retreat on his own accord. Seeing an energetic teenager with calm eyes blocking his way, the man in black exercise clothes snorted and his momentum rose again. A green light flashed in his eyes, and he planned to end this quickly. Lu Cheng suddenly felt that the scene around him had changed. From the streets flowing with boiling water and blood to the empty and desolate wilderness, a giant wolf howling at the moon, evoking the hidden fear and horror in his heart. He had expected this, so he didn't force himself to resist his emotions. Instead, he bit the tip of his tongue. The tingling pain came and the illusion disappeared. In front of him was the man in black exercise clothes. He shook his left arm like a big spear and stabbed at Lu Cheng. He didn't have time to shake his center of gravity and change his position. Lightning struck in his mind, fire set the prairie ablaze, and the snow mountain collapsed. Lu Cheng directly blocked with mega avalanche and lightning and fire stance. He didn't take the posture of lowering his waist and legs, so as not to stabilize his center of gravity and lose his agility. Bam! Lu Cheng's right arm just blocked the fist of the man in black exercise clothes. He felt a tingling pain at the place where they touched, as if dozens of steel needles were inserted into his flesh and stirred continuously. Even if this punch cracked his bones, he was mentally prepared to endure it. But now, the sudden and extremely sharp needle-like pain made him feel as if he had touched a hot iron pot unexpectedly. Under human instinct, his right hand suddenly swung to the side. With this swing, his chest and abdomen were exposed. The man in black exercise clothes, who had used his unique skill from the very beginning, didn't show any mercy. He pulled back his right fist slightly and immediately shot it out. With a crisp sound and explosive force, he hit Lu Cheng's chest. The whistling wind blew in his face, like the announcement of death. Swinging his center of gravity, Lu Cheng exerted force on his right foot and suddenly turned his body to the side. He narrowly parted the punch and saw it brush past his chest. If he had chosen to lower his waist and legs, he would have been seriously injured even if he didn't die. In this situation, Lu Cheng didn't even think about it. He quickly stretched out his left hand and accurately grasped the right wrist of the man who didn't have time to withdraw it. He was about to lift and shake it. This was one of the moves of the big and small hand wrap, imitating the snake catcher. If a poisonous snake was shaken like this, all the joints of its body would be shaken open. If the enemy was shaken like this, all the joints of the arm from the fingers to the shoulder would be shaken open. Mercurial center of gravity? The man in black exercise clothes didn't have time to be surprised. His chest and abdomen suddenly swelled and contracted. His throat squirmed and his mouth opened, letting out a roar that seemed to come from the deepest part of the darkness. Dark. With a buzz, Lu Cheng's ears vibrated, his mind roared, and his vision became blurred. The strength of his left hand subconsciously dispersed, and his center of gravity involuntarily lowered. The man in black exercise clothes pulled back his right hand and crossed his left arm in front of his chest. Then, he drew an arc in the air, like a spear full of power, and hit Lu Cheng's neck with a bam sound. If hit by this move, he would definitely die. Under the danger, Lu Cheng's hair stood on end instinctively. Because the man in black exercise clothes pulled back his right hand and pulled his left arm, he recovered part of his consciousness in an instant. He forced himself to endure the pain of dizziness and didn't have time to hide anything. He hurriedly raised his right hand and hammered in the narrow space. He directly used the inch force to block the incoming fist. Bang! A short and vigorous force burst out. A flame was ignited and spurted out, burning the surface of the man in black exercise clothes' fist. The inch force short fight, the supernatural ability of fire. Hiss. Under the instinctive reaction of the human body, the man in black exercise clothes seemed to have accidentally touched the flame of the candle, just like Lu Cheng just now. He subconsciously swung his left arm to the side. Lu Cheng seized the opportunity and gathered all the strength in his body, passing it through his spine to his thigh. He tightened his muscles and pulled out his left leg with a snap, aiming straight for the space between the legs of the man in black exercise clothes. While you're down, I'll kill you. The expression of the man in black exercise clothes suddenly changed. He didn't have time to defend himself, so he could only squeeze his legs inwards as if he was holding his bladder. He formed the first line of defense with his thigh muscles. At the same time, he lowered his body and pressed down with his right hand like a claw, forming the second line of defense. Bang! Lu Cheng kicked the muscles of the man in the inner side of his thigh. He didn't use force to break through the line of defense. Instead, he quickly adjusted his center of gravity and borrowed the rebound. He pulled back his left leg and his upper body shot forward. His left and right arms formed a bow shape. Lightning struck down in his mind and flames spread, bringing the collapse of the snow mountain and the destruction of the white stream. Lightning and fire stance. Mega avalanche. Bang! The bowstring was stretched to the limit. Two fists whizzed out, one from the left and one from the right. The two fists pierced the ears and tore the air. They hit the temples of the man in black exercise clothes with unstoppable force. The man in black exercise clothes pressed down with his right hand and couldn't withdraw it in time. His legs were squeezed inwards, so he couldn't immediately use the iron bridge or the lazy donkey roll to dodge. He could only sweep his left arm out to block the two fists. Bang! The man in black exercise clothes waved his left arm in a hurry. Lu Cheng directly blocked the left and right arms of the man in black exercise clothes. His two fists still had the momentum and hit the man in the left and right temples loudly. In the air, there seemed to be a dang sound echoing. The man in black exercise clothes' eyes bulged and almost fell out. Traces of blood flowed out of his nostrils, ears, mouth, and the corner of his eyes. Gradually, his spirit faded away. His eyes were frozen with fear and unwillingness. Lu Cheng's left foot touched the ground and withdrew his fists. He looked straight into the eyes of his opponent and gasped for breath. He was more tired than if he had fought 100 matches. I killed someone. A battle between life and death was completely different from what he had expected. There was no probing, no holding back, and no ultimate moves left for the end. There was only an eruption of full strength from the beginning, and only a life and death struggle between life and death with every move. Unless it was a trap, no matter who wanted to leave their ultimate move for the end, it was very likely that they would never be able to use it. This was because the opponent wouldn't cooperate. They would only think of creating an opportunity in the shortest amount of time to deliver a fatal blow. A long night was fraught with dreams. If it wasn't for the fact that the opponent didn't understand him at all, didn't know that he had mastered the mercurial balance and the supernatural ability of flames, and was prepared for his secret psychic arts, he would have died at least 2 times due to his lack of determination and full strength at the beginning. Of course, the man in black training clothes was unwilling to give up. The few ultimate moves he used just now belonged to his mercurial balance and supernatural ability of fire. He didn't have the chance to use his death sect or dark sect fighting style that was comparable to 24 blizzard strikes. This was a real life and death battle. 3 to 4 moves, 1 life. The light in the eyes of the man in black exercise clothes completely disappeared. His body went soft and collapsed. Blood flowed out of his 7 orifices and he died with his eyes wide open. Qin Rui had been staring at the battle scene. Due to the distance and the fact that the man in black exercise clothes had blocked most of the details of the battle, he could only vaguely see that Lu Qing didn't fall as expected. It can't be. He really has some strength? Qin Rui was surprised and puzzled. While his thoughts were going through his mind, he suddenly saw the man in black exercise clothes stop moving and stand at the same spot. Lu Qing is dead. His heart tightened and sorrow welled up in him. Subconsciously, he wanted to open the car door. However, at this moment, the man in black exercise clothes in his line of sight fell limply. Little by little, the figure in the white martial arts suit with black edges was revealed. It revealed the young man who was slightly out of breath but still as calm and composed as ever. It revealed the face that was both familiar and strange to him. Qin Rui's hand froze on the handle of the car door. All he felt was that all the sounds around him had disappeared. Lu Qing, he called out this name just like how he did at the beginning. However, it sounded like he was sleep-talking. P.S. Based on everyone's request, this article has been updated in advance. Please recommend and vote. Chapter 92. The sky was already bright, and under the light, everything clearly showed its appearance. The road leading to the river embankment intersected with the street in the old neighborhood, and there was a noodle stall. The simple tables and chairs of the stall were toppled over, and bowls, chopsticks, and noodles were all over the floor. The iron pot was upside down a dozen steps away, and the white-haired boss was paralyzed behind the natural gas stove, shivering and full of fear. Not far from him, there was a hideous body with no eyes and incontinence, and 2 thugs were curled up into a ball, covering different parts of their body. They were either groaning or unconscious, and their lives were quickly fading away, mixed with blood and urine around them. More than 20 meters away from the other end of the street, the ground was wet, and there were 3 people lying on the ground. One of them was curled up on his side, and the back of his ears and neck were full of burns. Another one was a man in a black exercise suit who was bleeding from his 7 orifices, and the last one was Wang Su, who could still move, but was curled up and shivering. His pistol was thrown aside, stained with mud, and reflected a faint light. In such a hellish scene, the only one standing was a teenager in a white martial arts suit with black edges. It should be said that he was a boy who had lost his childishness and was more like a young man. He was slightly panting, and his back was straight like a javelin, and his expression was slightly confused. 4 police cars and a dozen or so police officers. When Chief Xing personally led the team to the scene, what they saw was such a bloody, terrifying, and strange picture. Chin Roy also saw such a scene, which made him unable to believe his own eyes. To be honest, when he saw the man in a black exercise suit seriously injure and even kill an enemy with one move, he was so scared that his whole body was trembling. It was not that he had never seen a fight of a professional ninth pin. The TV broadcast of the preliminaries and the video highlights of various competitions showed that the strength level of a person at the peak of the body refining stage was not a secret, but that was in the arena where there was restraint and the referee to stop the fight. It was very different from the scene where life and death were decided in one move. In just a few moves, the man in black exercise clothes had perfectly demonstrated the observation, reaction, willpower, decisiveness, and improvisation of a professional ninth pin fighter. He had imprinted the cruel, brutal, tragic, bloody, and terrifying side of martial arts into his heart, leaving an indelible mark. He had made him regard him as a demon that had walked out from the depths of darkness. He had completely lost the courage and confidence to fight with him. All he knew was fear, and trembling. However, such a terrifying martial artist, such a terrifying demon, had died on the spot in the blink of an eye. He was not killed by guns or weapons. He was beaten to death by another martial artist. And the one who killed him was his high school classmate, Lu Cheng, whom he had just met a few days ago. It was said that Lu Cheng had only practiced martial arts for half a year. It was the harmless, kind, and gentle Lu Cheng of the past. It was the Lu Cheng who always copied his homework and didn't know how to fight at all. It was the humorous and witty Lu Cheng who kept joking about his martial arts level during the class reunion. He was not joking. This was probably the biggest shock and the biggest shock Chin Roy had ever received in his 19 years of life. It made him bend down and shrink his neck. He froze beside the car window, his eyes reflecting the young man in a white martial arts suit with black edges. Damn it, I seem to have said that he should show some of his skills when he was free. And now, he really did show some of his skills. Between two moves, the demon was killed. Lu Cheng, Tao Xiaofei almost stuck his face to the car window to see the appearance of the figure clearly. But no matter how he looked, it was his former classmate, Lu Cheng. The man in black exercise clothes had caused great fear to him. He had almost lost control of his bladder and lost control of his bladder in the car. The scene of eyeballs bursting out of their sockets kept flashing in his eyes, and the scene of someone being hit in the groin kept replaying. He felt that under normal circumstances, this was the limit of the human body's peak. It seemed that he was completely invincible. But now, the invincible person was lying on the ground, like a monument that had been crushed by someone. This person was someone he knew, someone he had never thought of. He had been hiding his skills in high school. Tao Xiaofei completely forgot that there was a charming beauty behind him and couldn't help muttering to himself. Fortunately, I have never offended him. Fortunately, I didn't agree to Brother Feng's suggestion to help teach him a lesson. That's not right. What's the benefit of hiding his skills? People who know martial arts are everywhere. What's the point of hiding? Wouldn't it be better to show off? Damn it. Could it be that smoking and drinking would have such an effect? How the hell did I dare to be rude to him at that time? Can our relationship still be salvaged? Thinking about it, Tao Xiaofei didn't dare to get off the car, approach Lu Cheng, or say hello to him. He felt that if he really did so, he was afraid that he would pee in his pants when Lu Cheng looked at him. He would really pee. Dai Linfeng and the other disciples of Gushan Martial Arts School were not as shocked as Chin Roy and Tao Xiaofei, who had been classmates with Lu Cheng for 3 years. After all, they didn't know what kind of person Lu Cheng was before. But even so, they were still deeply shocked. An expert who seemed to be able to beat them up was so majestic just a moment ago, but in the blink of an eye, he was killed on the spot by Lu Cheng. Only with a comparison could it be clearly shown. At this moment, Dai Linfeng and the others subconsciously came up with an idea in their minds, invincible under the Dan stage. Fortunately, they were not dragged down by Tao Xiaofei, who was unable to do anything right, and had a conflict with this invincible master under the Dan stage. Damn it. How could Mingwei Martial Arts School be so lucky to have an accident and narrowly avoid the competition with Lu Cheng? The cold wind blew and the smell of blood came. Director Xing Chenggu looked at Lu Cheng, who stood out among the wounded and the dead. He couldn't help but be stunned, but soon came to his senses. He waved his hand and said to his subordinates, who pulled out their guns and aimed, "Don't be nervous. He's one of us. Quickly protect the scene and see how many are still alive. Cooperate with the ambulance that will arrive soon to rescue the wounded." Before the departure, the experienced director felt that if there was an accident, there would be several casualties. So he directly contacted the hospital and asked the ambulance to come at the same time. It was better to run away than to waste the precious time of saving people. After the order, he looked at Lu Cheng, who was still a little stunned. He quickly approached and said loudly, "Lu? How are you? Are you okay?" "Director Xing, I was angry and couldn't help but hit him." Lu Cheng calmed down slightly and hurriedly explained, "I'm the only one who beat him up. He did all the other things." Director Xing nodded and turned to the few high-ranking subordinates who had followed him over. "Arrange for people to record the testimonies of the witnesses and find more witnesses. This is Xiao Lu. He was the one who called the police today. When he got the news, he reported it to me through an elder. I felt that time was tight and might not make it in time, so I entrusted him, who was nearby, to come over and see if he could save a few lives. He's a good student who acted bravely for a just cause." "Entrusted? When did Director Xing entrust me?" Lu Cheng was stunned, but tactfully did not refute. Director Xing issued orders one by one and arranged them in an orderly manner. When the ambulance arrived at the scene, he said to a policewoman, "Anyway, we still have to follow the procedures. You record Lu's testimony. Don't show favoritism. Do it strictly according to the rules." The policewoman curled her lips when Director Xing was not paying attention. "You said no favoritism, so you must do it. And you have already decided, haven't you? A good student who is brave for justice. Besides, if we really follow the procedures, we have to take him back to the police station to record his testimony. By the way, this is my phone. You can check the call record. It can prove that it was Lu who called the police through an elder. I also talked to him." Director Xing handed over the phone. The policewoman took it and said to Lu Cheng, "Lu, let's go to the car to record the testimony." Lu Cheng nodded and followed her to the police car in silence. He was a little depressed. I killed someone. A human life had been taken by his own hands just like that. This feeling is really complicated. However, the shock of personally killing someone was neutralized by the bloody scene made by the man in black exercise clothes. It was diluted by the bursting eyeballs and the rolling figure covering the lower part of his body. It made him feel a sense of chivalry. He didn't feel so guilty and didn't have so much shadow in his heart. Wang Su. He seemed to finally wake up and turned to look at Wang Su, who was being carried to the ambulance. Wang Su was shackled by the handcuffs. His vision was scattered, and he trembled in fear. He was like a frightened cub, trembling non-stop. After going through the scene just now, his courage is gone. It's hard to say if there will be any mental trauma, but I'm sure he won't dare to fight in the future. This is good. At least after he gets out of prison, he can resume a more normal life and won't be involved in underworld matters. Well, the burns are concentrated in the back, so he won't be disfigured. Director Xing noticed Lu Cheng's gaze and said with a smile. Obviously, no boss would want to keep a thug who didn't dare to fight anymore. That's fine too. Lu Cheng repeated this sentence, took a deep breath, and came to the side of the police car to accept the policewoman's questioning. From his name, age, school and other personal information to the cause and effect of today's incident, he answered honestly and honestly. He only blurted out one thing and added a sentence. What he blurted out was his relationship with Wang Su. He described them as ordinary childhood friends who hadn't had much contact for more than 3 years. They had only met twice recently. He told Wang Su that his master was a mighty one with physical invulnerability. He added that he was sent here by Director Xing. After regaining his ability to think, he understood Director Xing's intentions. Of course, feelings of fear, lingering fear, trembling, melancholy and other feelings came one after another. It was quite complicated. I can't be so impulsive in the future. Today, I almost died on the spot. I walked the line between life and death a full 2 times. If the other party knew a little about me, then all my hot-blooded efforts would be for naught. All the feelings I pursued with all my heart would be for naught. The brilliant future I dreamed of would be for naught. Only a lonely tombstone would tell me a story of regret and unwillingness. Why am I here? What's wrong with me coming here to have sex? I'm not allowed to have sex with people. I'm not allowed to have sex in the car. At this moment, a familiar voice came into his ears. Turning his head, Lu Cheng was surprised to see Tao Xiaofei, Qin Rui, senior brother Dai Linfeng and the others. Such a coincidence? That's not right. While thinking, Lu Cheng resisted the urge to ask and pretended that he didn't see or hear anything. He would ask through QQ or phone later. It was better to avoid unnecessary trouble now. With his keen senses, he noticed that Tao Xiaofei was a little nervous and flustered. However, after witnessing such a scene, it would be strange if a normal person wasn't nervous or flustered. As for coming out of the bar early in the morning and having sex in the car, it was quite in line with his style. Dai Linfeng, Qin Rui, and the others' explanation was quite far-fetched. They said that they received a call from Tao Xiaofei and came to meet him. After he finished his business, they would have breakfast together. However, the police who questioned the people from Gushan Martial Arts School seemed to have a good relationship with Dai Linfeng and didn't care. Moreover, they were just normal passers-by and didn't show any signs of being involved. They also didn't have any contact with anyone involved in the case. Therefore, after checking the communication records and taking their statements, they didn't delay them. They wrote down their contact information and were ready to send them away. After taking the statements, the policewoman asked for the statement of the stall owner. She asked Tao Xiaofei, Qin Rui, Dai Linfeng, and the others who came out of the car face to face. After talking with the colleagues who were investigating the scene and examining the body for a while, she walked back to the original place and said to Lu Cheng, "Lu Cheng, you can go now." "I can go now?" Lu Cheng was quite surprised. "This is still a human life, isn't it? Can I go now?" He was already prepared to go to the police station for a whole morning or even a day or 2. The policewoman looked up at him and said casually, "Yes, you can go now. If you want a good Samaritan or chivalrous and courageous reward, you can give the bureau a call and we'll help you apply." Lu Cheng was suddenly speechless, but since he didn't have to go to the police station, he was happy to do so. Without saying anything more, he walked to the side of Director Xing and squeezed out a smile. "Director Xing, thank you. You don't have to be so polite. Just call me Uncle Xing. A great teacher produces great students." Director Xing gave him a thumbs up. "Go back quickly and adjust well. Don't leave any psychological trauma. Don't worry about the follow-up. Your master found me through the provincial department." Lu Cheng walked back slowly along the road. His thoughts were scattered and he couldn't concentrate no matter how hard he tried. Suddenly, he heard the sound of a horn. He turned his head and saw Tao Xiaofei's BMW 7 Series parked next to him. He opened the door and got off the car. He smiled a little nervously and a little reverently. "Lu Cheng, brother Lu, let me take you back." Through the car window, Lu Cheng saw Qin Rui and Dai Linfeng. Chapter 93. Coming back to his senses, Lu Cheng thought quickly and nodded to Tao Xiaofei. Okay. No matter why they appeared in the vicinity, he had to warn them not to spread the news. That professional ninth pin mighty one obviously had his own inheritance and social network. Maybe someone would come to inquire about the details, which would cause a lot of trouble. Tao Xiaofei was happy and hurried back to his seat. He saw Lu Cheng open the door of the passenger seat and sit in calmly. The car started and moved forward, but no one spoke. It fell into a strange silence. Lu Qing could see that Qin Rui, Dai Lin Feng in the back, and Tao Xiaofei in the driver's seat were all very cautious and even showed a sense of awe. They seemed to be quite unfamiliar with each other. In the quiet car, Tao Xiaofei couldn't stand the silence. He swallowed his saliva and forced a smile. "Brother Lu, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. If our seats were reversed, I wouldn't believe it and wouldn't expect it." Lu Qing hadn't calmed down yet. He forced a smile and replied, "Just call me Qing. It's too exaggerated to call me brother or grandpa." Tao Xiaofei was refreshed and his smile became more natural. "No, I'd better call you brother Lu, otherwise I'll feel uncomfortable. Anyway, you're a few months older than me. By the way, when did you start practicing martial arts? How did you become so powerful?" "Oh my God, I was scared out of my wits." Lu Cheng's mind suddenly flashed with a sentence that Zhao Chang, the head of the department, often said when they were chatting during the holidays. He changed it and said with a bitter smile, "People mainly rely on their own efforts, but they also have to consider the arrangement of fate. I have never tried to practice martial arts before, so I didn't know I had talent in this area. Fortunately, I joined the Songqing University Martial Arts Club on a whim and met a good coach." Hearing this explanation, Qin Rui and Dai Lin Feng in the back row quietly heaved a sigh of relief. They felt that the doubts in their hearts had been resolved. This was how the world worked. Some people were born smart and extremely intelligent, able to produce results that would affect a century or even longer when they were in their 20s. Some people were gifted with martial arts that were 5 times, 10 times, or even dozens of times faster than the average person. For example, Shi Shan, the reincarnated Buddha of Daxing Temple, had stepped into the physical invulnerability stage at the age of 20. Qing, I thought you were joking on the day of the class reunion." Qin Rui also calmed down and interrupted. Tao Xiaofei immediately. "Brother Lu, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. I just thought you've only practiced martial arts for half a year. Furthermore, he only started practicing halfway through. One look and I can tell that he doesn't plan to rely on it for a living." "All right, I was wrong. I was blind." Lu Qing smiled. "I didn't mean to hide it. There's nothing I can't tell you. You took it as a joke and didn't believe me. I can't do anything about it. I can't roll up my sleeves and hit you on the spot, right?" While speaking, he moved his right hand and suddenly felt a stinging pain in his arm. It was the part where he was hit by the professional 9th pin master for the first time. Shocked, Lu Qing didn't have time to continue speaking. He unbuttoned his sleeve and rolled it up. There were dozens of red and swollen spots near the elbow joint. They were densely packed and connected together. He could still feel the stinging pain. "Did that professional 9th pin master hurt you?" Tao Xiaofei glanced at it and was so shocked that he almost drove the car into a ditch. Qin Rui and Dai Lin Feng leaned forward and took a closer look. They both gasped because this injury was so strange that it made them numb all over. Lu Qing checked it carefully and touched it with his left hand. He was sure that it was just a red and swollen area with no blood. It didn't look like he was stabbed by a needle. He was worried that there might be some hidden danger. He didn't answer Tao Xiaofei's question and took out his phone to call his master. The reason why he didn't avoid Tao Xiaofei and the others was that he wanted to intimidate them with the strength of a physical invulnerability mighty one so that they wouldn't dare to talk nonsense and spread it everywhere. In case he needed to go to the hospital, he might have to ask Tao Xiaofei to send him there. After a short ring, the phone was connected. Gizershir's familiar hoarse voice came through. "How is it? Is it settled?" "It's settled. I couldn't help it and hit him." Lu Qing answered with a guilty conscience. Gizershir snorted. "Hit him? Tell me the details." Lu Qing told him about his mental struggle and impulsive action. "In the end," he said, "I know it's not good, but the blood rushed to my brain." Gizershir clicked his tongue. "Don't say it. I don't have a stupid disciple like you." Without waiting for Lu Qing to answer, he paused and sighed. But, who doesn't have impulsive moments when you're young? As the saying goes, if you're not impulsive when you're young, you're not brave. If you're impulsive when you're mature, you're brainless. Remember this lesson. Yes, master. Lu Qing changed the topic and talked about his injury. By the way, when I was fighting with that guy, I felt like dozens of needles had pierced into my flesh. Now it's densely packed and swollen. Is that okay, master? Geezer thought for a while and said, tell me the details. When Lu Qing was done, he laughed and said, I was wondering what it was. So it's the poison needle force derived from the dark heaven infinite scripture's dark poison divine fist. If you met an expert, just this force alone would be enough to end your life. Well, the infinite dark sky is commonly known as the dark sex divine kung fu. In the era when it was perfected, it absorbed some of the content of the Taoist sect's unique skill of the plague sect and mixed with the essence of Miaojiang's voodoo. Once it's fully mastered, it can make people sick or poisoned easily. Sometimes, people can't hold back their coughs and get killed. So it's a ninth pin master of the dark sect. Lu Qing suddenly understood and asked worriedly, Master, then how should I first aid? First aid, my ass. It's just the poison needle force of a professional ninth pin master. Buy a box of mosquito bites ointment and apply it for 3 days. Then you'll be fine. Geezer laughed and scolded him. Phew. Lu Qing breathed a sigh of relief. Suddenly, the shadow in his heart from his first kill seemed to have dissipated a lot. Master, do you think that this kind of master with an inheritance will be killed by the old? Will someone come to take revenge? Lu Qing mentioned another thing that worried him. Geezer snorted. Only if they have the ability. He slowed down his tone and continued, this kind of martial artists who live in the darkness and walk on the edge of life and death have a relatively indifferent relationship with each other. They have long been mentally prepared for each other's accidental death. If they retaliated just because someone was killed for doing something illegal, this group of people would have been wiped out long ago. Not even dregs would be left behind. Do they really think that the major forces are just decorations? Do they really think that the army and the police are decorations? Every circle has its survival philosophy. However, we can't rule out the possibility of blood relatives taking risks. I'll ask Xiao Xing to make this into a case where the police killed a bandit and keep the part involving you a secret. For good citizens who have acted bravely for a just cause, the police have a set of reliable protection procedures. The relevant people will be reminded to not let the news leak. Lu Qing was completely relieved. Master is so considerate. He thanked him and hung up the phone. When he was about to remind Qin Rui and the others, he heard Tao Xiaofei hurriedly said, Brother Lu, don't worry. I'll keep this to myself. I won't show it to anyone. Qin Rui and Dai Linfeng looked at each other and said, Qing, there's no problem on our side. I'll tell the other brothers to unify their statements. We'll say that one of the gunmen killed the professional ninth pin and died together with him. Even the other 4 gunmen are either dead or seriously injured. Thank you very much. Lu Qing said gratefully. Dai Linfeng smiled and said, don't worry. We won't even tell my master. His master was old, but the friend in front of him might be strong for another 10 or 20 years. To build such a friendship, it was no big deal to hide a little from his master. Although Qin Rui said that he would remind them, he still needed Dai Linfeng's help. In the eyes of the other brothers, he didn't have much prestige. After a few phone calls, Dai Linfeng said seriously, it's done. No problem. Then he hesitated and asked, Qing, if we invite you to represent Shushan in the preliminaries, will you accept? We can recommend you as the leader. Without hesitation, Lu Qing shook his head and said, no. The next practice of Songqing University Martial Arts Club is to organize a team to participate in the preliminaries. I see. Dai Linfeng murmured. He couldn't tell whether he was disappointed or happy. At this time, Tao Xiaofei's car had arrived near Lu Cheng's house. He knew that Lu Qing lived in this area, but he didn't know which road and which street it was. Just get off here. I need to buy some ointment. Lu Qing didn't bring his wallet, but he could pay with his mobile phone. Tao Xiaofei was quite obedient and didn't show his usual arrogance. Dai Linfeng asked casually, Qing, is your master the coach of Songqing University Martial Arts Club? Yes, he used to be a mighty one with physical invulnerability. Lu Qing pointed out deliberately. In an instant, Dai Linfeng, Tao Xiaofei, and Qin Rui froze. They almost blurted out, no wonder. I'll go first. See you later. Lu Qing didn't delay and got off the car. After seeing him off, Tao Xiaofei exhaled and said, that's amazing. Brother Lu, that's amazing. After he sighed, he laughed inexplicably and said, with such a classmate and friend, I can show off in the future. Qin Rui had mixed feelings. He looked at Dai Linfeng and asked, are we going back to the martial arts club? Why should we go back to the martial arts club? Now that I've calmed down, my mind is filled with the bloody scene from before. It's all about that devil-like guy. Let's go drink. You won't be afraid when you're drunk. Tao Xiaofei interrupted and suggested. What's there to be afraid of? Think about it. If your classmate is Lu Qing, that devil will be scared away. Qin Rui sighed and joked. After a moment of silence, Dai Linfeng said, I won't drink anymore. I won't drink anymore. Even a genius like Lu Qing had to quit smoking and drinking, let alone him. After buying the ointment and returning home, Lu Qing pretended as if nothing had happened. After eating the breakfast prepared by his mother, he entered his room and logged on QQ. He saw that Yan Zhika had already sent him 3 messages at different times. I got up early too. I pulled myself out of the warm and comfortable bed. Awesome. I've finished my training. How about you? Are you still training? Looking at the messages, Lu Qing felt a lingering fear. He regretted his impulsiveness. He was so close to never seeing these messages again. He suddenly felt that he should sincerely apologize to Coach Yan, although he didn't quite understand why he had to apologize to her. Chapter 94. Since he was going to admit his mistake, he had to be honest with Yan Zhika. Otherwise, what did she mean by saying that out of the blue? Lu Qing had no idea how Yan Zhika would react when she found out about this. He hesitated for a moment, but after careful consideration, he finally decided to confess and be lenient. If Yan Zhika's family had connections with the local police as he had expected, there was a high chance that she would hear about it by chance. At that time, the consequences of keeping such a major event a secret would be more serious than acting rashly. According to Kai Xiaoming, no one liked to be lied to. Men were like that, and women were even more so. Lu Qing considered his tone and calmed down the haze that rose again because of recalling what had happened. He sent a message directly without using an emoji. Coach Yan, I did something wrong today. Confessing also required skill. Obviously, it was not a good idea to say it all out. It was better to tell her little by little to reduce the impact and increase his legitimacy. It was better to give Yan Zhika some buffer time. After a while, Yan Zhika sent a blank emoji and said, what did you do wrong? Lu Qing did not go straight to the point. He said from the beginning, when I was training today, I suddenly received a call from Wang Su. He said that their boss found the trace of a professional 9th pin and asked them to bring guns to intercept him. He felt very scared and very uncertain. So, you rushed there like a fool? Yan Zhika did not use an emoji. It seemed that she did not know what to use. No. Lu Qing hurriedly denied. A professional 9th pin involved in gangs, guns, and secret spiritual methods. I'm not Superman. I haven't even reached the professional 9th pin yet. How could I have the guts and confidence to do that? My first reaction was to call the police. But considering the existence of protection on both sides, I decided to ask someone to find a trustworthy police. It would be best to scare off both sides directly without revealing Wang Su's problem. So, I didn't want to let Wang Su know. My first thought was to call you. But then I thought that you had to go through your grandfather or your mother. There might be some changes in the middle. So, I decided to call Coach Shi. He has a strong background and is not an ordinary person. He must have a lot of connections. Sure enough, Coach Shi soon contacted Deputy Director Xing of the Shushan police station. Lu Qing originally wanted to say one sentence at a time instead of typing a bunch of words. But after experiencing such a thing, he was not a guy with a strong mentality. He could not completely calm down no matter how hard he tried. Once he opened his mouth, he could not wait to explain the cause and analyze his psychological changes at that time. Yan Jika continued to sit in a daze. You handled it very well. If such a thing really happened, I don't think I could handle it better than you. How can this be called wrong? I made the call, but I still rushed over. Lu Qing said weakly. It's very dangerous to get involved in this. Lu Qing hurriedly explained. I thought that if Director Xing did not contact both sides in time and warn them so that the thing would not happen, he might not be able to make it in time. Anyway, I was just there to watch. If I was really confident, I would give him a hand. If not, I would not force it. My own safety is more important. After more than a minute of silence, Yenjika replied with a sigh. I thought about it. If it was me, or one of my best friends, I might be nervous and impulsive. Well, you know how to act according to circumstances and not act blindly. It's just a small mistake. Just be more careful in the future. But in the end, I still acted blindly. Lu Qing didn't dare to say it directly. First, he described the scene that he witnessed. Based on his intuition, he emphasized the ruthlessness and coldness of the professional ninth pin fighter, and the miserable helplessness of Wang Su and the other hatchet man after they were drenched in boiling water. They threw away their pistols and rolled on the ground. He also pointed out the intentional killing of the man in black exercise clothes. Of course, he did not mention the bloody and nightmarish scene of eyeballs exploding. At that time, I was stunned. Blood rushed directly to my brain. Lu Qing said carefully. After another long ellipsis, Yenjika said, So, you just jumped out of the room? Are you okay? Are you hurt? Seeing that Yenjika was concerned about this first, Lu Qing felt warm in his heart. He hurriedly said, No, I was just shocked. My emotions are very complicated and I can't calm down. That's good. Yenjika sent a sitting and exhaling emoji and said, I was imagining a scene just now. You're in plaster and bandages all over your body. You're lying in bed like a mummy and you're sending me a message. Before Lu Qing answered, she sent a fierce emoji and said, Now you know how to be afraid. Do you dare to be so impulsive in the future? You relied on your mercurial balance to survive until the police arrived and scared the opponent away? This was the only safe way she could think of. As for surviving a head-on confrontation with a professional ninth pin, especially a professional ninth pin who grew up between life and death, it was unrealistic unless Cheng had an awakening outburst like when he fought against Yi Yaoting again. However, this kind of thing could not happen continuously in a short time. No, I won. Recalling that time, Lu Qing trembled again. It seemed that he had some post-traumatic effects, so he did not directly say that he killed the opponent. You won? Yenjika sent a dumbfounded emoji and asked after a long time, How did you win? Lu Qing thought for a while and quickly typed on the screen keyboard, It's hard to say. Let's video call and I'll show you. Watch? Yenjika sent an emoji with a question mark on its head and sent a request for a video call. Lu Qing immediately accepted and soon saw Yenjika on the other side of the screen. She was wearing a fluffy white home dress, lying on a bare plushie. Her hair was tied up with a hairpin, revealing her slender white neck. Her cheeks were a little rosy, and her eyes were clear and clean. There was a little cuteness in her beauty, as if she had just come out of the shower. She frowned and pursed her lips, as if she was adjusting her image in the video call. Then she put on a serious face and said, "Tell me, how did you win? Tell me the truth and I'll be lenient. Resist and I'll be strict." Looking at the delicate figure and listening to the familiar soft voice, Lu Cheng's trembling body eased and the haze in his heart dissipated. He put his hand in front of the screen and said, "Look." As he spoke, he rubbed his thumb and middle finger together, creating a slowly burning flame. Yen Jika's expression suddenly became vivid. Her big black and white eyes were wide open, and her delicate elegance disappeared. Her beauty and cuteness took over. "Fire. You've awakened the supernatural ability of fire? The fight with Yi Yaoting?" She quickly came back to herself and figured out the cause. Lu Qing nodded and said, "Although the temperature is quite high, it's just a little bit. It can be extinguished by the wind, so I can only use it in the short fight. When I awakened it, I wanted to tell you immediately, but I also wanted to surprise you by performing magic for you after school started. So I didn't tell you." He hurriedly explained his original idea, so that Yen Jika wouldn't think that he was deliberately hiding it. Girls wouldn't mind this kind of surprise concealment. Instead, they would be very happy. "Oh, you can do magic now?" Yen Jika joked. Her eyebrows relaxed and showed joy. The temperature was quite high, and the opponent was completely unprepared. If he was burned in a hurry, it was likely that he would launch a conditional discharge, which gave you the best chance to win. No wonder you could win. Then what? Lu Qing took a deep breath. The scene of the professional ninth pin's eyes quickly disappearing seemed to appear in front of him. The fear and unwillingness in his eyes appeared. He answered honestly, "Between life and death, I couldn't hold back, so I killed him." Yen Jika murmured. She wanted to say something, but after seeing Lu Cheng's repressed and tense expression, she became nervous and concerned. "Don't feel too guilty. This kind of person lurks in the dark and may have killed more people. He has done dozens of bad things, if not 100. You are helping the people get rid of evil. You are being chivalrous. Don't take it to heart." At that time, Wang Su and the others were crying on the ground. Their guns were out of their hands, but he still deliberately killed them. "You didn't do wrong to stop him." She seems to care more about whether I'm traumatized." Lu Cheng was stunned. To be honest, the shock after killing the person was less than he expected. The same was true for the haze left behind. There were many reasons for this. First, he didn't have much contact with the man in black exercise clothes, so his impression of him was very thin and couldn't support the image of a living person. Second, he didn't see his family and friends, so he didn't see the kind of grief he felt. Third, he witnessed him brutally killing the enemies who had lost their ability to resist. He was cold and ruthless, which was equivalent to doing it on purpose. He felt that he was doing justice, so he didn't feel too guilty. Fourth, he couldn't hold back when he was between life and death. If it wasn't on purpose, he didn't feel too much suffering. In other words, he did have traumatized, but it was far less serious than Yen Jika thought. However, at this time, he could take advantage of the situation to act pitiful and arouse her sympathy and concern. Wouldn't it make her quickly forget about the self-defense killing and his reckless and impulsive mistake, and shift her attention to comforting him? In a flash of inspiration, Lu Qing immediately put on a heavy and depressed look. "I also comforted myself like this. But after all, it's a living person. Once I calm down, I will recall the scene at that time." Later, Director Xing came to the scene and said that he asked me to stop it. He took a statement and let me go. In today's martial arts era, it was common to ask a master with a clean background to stop a crime, just like a foreign private detective to help solve a case. Yen Jika said a little anxiously, "Why don't you go to the hospital? Psychiatry or psychology department? You can receive counseling. You can't have traumatized, or you may have psychological problems in the future." Psychiatry or psychology department? Lu Qing was so scared that he almost broke out in a cold sweat. If he really went there, he would have problems even if he didn't have any. He quickly said, "No need. I feel much better after chatting with you for a while. You are my life mentor, and also my psychological counselor. In the mood of concern and anxiety, Yenjika couldn't help but laugh. Her shallow dimples were overflowing with beauty. Really? She quickly controlled her expression and asked in return. Really? Lu Cheng answered seriously, letting the heavy depression fade away, leaving only the residual haze of his original nature. Yenjika nodded like a chick pecking rice. Then I will counsel you properly. She picked up the silver-white notebook beside her and put it on her lap. While searching for relevant psychological information, she video-chatted with Lu Cheng to counsel him. In a martial arts battle, life and death are determined once the outcome is decided. You can't hold back. If you hold back, you will die. Then you can't accept my counseling. So, you are saving your life. Don't feel guilty. As they chatted, the haze in Lu Cheng's heart faded away. At this moment, his phone rang. It was Qin Rui. He chose to answer and asked, Qin Rui, what's the matter? Qin Rui said in a strange tone, Master Luo ran away and Jian Lao San was caught. At least no one in the local area will want to know the truth about what happened before. I want to tell you so you can rest assured. Okay. Lu Cheng was stunned and only answered with one word. When the phone hung up and the video started again, Lu Cheng looked at the beautiful girl in front of him, listened to her soft and beautiful voice, and felt the faint concern and warmth. The haze in his heart burst out and was completely vented. This is the life I want. What underworld organization? What life and death? F***CK off. F***CK off. Chapter 95. Why was the video call cut off? Yenjika asked casually. No longer suppressing his emotions, Lu Cheng, who had completely vented his emotions, said happily, Just now my classmate called me, the one from Gushan Martial Arts School. He said something about Luo running away, third Jian was caught, and no one in the local underworld would care about what happened before. Yenjika opened her mouth and showed a cute expression. No wonder you look so relaxed. Uncle Xing is quite efficient. It only took 1 or 2 hours to complete the anti-gang operation. Anti-gang operation. Lu Cheng repeated subconsciously. Yenjika said with a serious face, a big case with 4 or 5 lives and a shooting case in the city. How can you explain to the city government and the provincial government and eliminate the social impact if you don't take action? If Uncle Xing didn't react quickly enough, even if you found Coach Sure in advance, even if the other party killed you intentionally after self-defense failed, even if the witness's testimony was favorable to you, you would still be in the police station for several days, or even half a month. What will your parents think then? Do you have to scare them to death? Now you know the consequences, right? Do you dare to be so impulsive again? Lu Cheng was really scared and regretful. He nodded hurriedly and said, I know. I won't be so impulsive again. According to his shallow legal knowledge, if it wasn't for Director Xing's reaction and endorsement, he would be in big trouble. At that time, Wang Su and the other hatchet man were drenched in boiling water, rolled on the ground, and threw out their pistols. It was considered an assault. When the other party caught up and killed them, it wasn't even excessive self-defense. It was already a standard murder. However, he had a call with Wang Su beforehand. It was very likely that he would be misunderstood as one of them. If he took the opportunity to kill several people, not to mention that he would definitely be sentenced, just being detained and waiting for investigation would be a big headache for his family. With Director Xing's endorsement, not only was he entrusted by the police station to help, but he was also a good citizen who acted bravely for a just cause. Wang Su's call record with him could also be considered as Wang Su's subjective performance in calling the police, and he would be given a light punishment. This was like the difference between heaven and earth. Impulsiveness is really bad. While thinking, Lu Cheng suddenly thought of something and blurted out, Uncle Xing? He didn't notice that Yenjika called Director Xing Uncle Xing just now. Yenjika pursed her lips and smiled, showing her dimples. If you chose to ask me for help, you would go to Uncle Xing in the end. He is a good friend of my parents. I see. Lu Qing suddenly felt lucky that he had confessed. Otherwise, if Director Xing mentioned it casually in front of Yan Zhika or her parents one day, the consequences would be very serious. It would definitely be more serious than what he had done in order to save someone's life. Even if they were really together, they might break up. Yan Zhika tucked her black hair behind her ear. Her bright eyes moved up as if she was thinking about something. Soon, she said, I think you should go and thank Uncle Xing formally. Although he was asked to help by Coach Shi, after all, he really helped you and helped you out of a lot of trouble. A simple thank you is not sincere enough. Makes sense. Lu Qing agreed that he should thank Director Xing properly. His master was his master, and he was his own person. They shouldn't be mixed together. Haven't I always been muddle-headed and depressed? I can't even remember to do this. Coach Yan, how do you think I should express my sincerity? Show your attitude. Attitude. Yan Zhika nodded with satisfaction. Call Uncle Xing tonight and ask him when he is free. You want to pay him a New Year's visit and bring some small gifts. Sit for a while and say thank you sincerely. He will know that you are a person who values friendship. If you have other troubles in the future, you don't have to go through Coach Shi. You can go to him directly. A small gift will do? Lu Qing asked with his shallow social knowledge. You don't trust me? Yan Zhika glared at him and made a fierce expression to ease Lu Qing's mood. At this time, expensive gifts are not good. First, it will make you feel distant. Second, Uncle Xing won't dare to accept it. What will Coach Shi think if he accepts your expensive gift? Third, I just endorsed you and you give him an expensive gift. Do you think you can't use it against him? Lu Qing nodded thoughtfully. Coach Yan, why do I feel that you know so much more than me, especially when it comes to interpersonal relationships? Of course. Girls are always more mature than boys. Yan Zhika smiled and opened her pink lips, revealing a row of neat white teeth. After chatting for a while, Lu Qing heard a female voice calling, "Ku," from the other side of the phone. Is someone looking for you? He asked. Yan Zhika took off the hairpin. Her black hair cascaded down like a waterfall. Her gentle and charming feminine charm made Lu Qing's heart palpitate. He was silly and dazed. Yeah. My mom is calling me. I have to go to my cousin's house for the New Year at noon. Yan Zhika looked at the mirror next to her and fixed her hair. It's very troublesome to celebrate the New Year in Jiangnan. I have to visit my relatives one by one. Then I have to entertain different relatives separately. I can go from the first day of the New Year to the 15th day of the New Year. What's more, the dishes in each family are about the same. Lu Qing smiled absent-mindedly. It's very easy in Shushan. Take my family for example. My grandpa's relatives will celebrate the New Year together. My grandpa's relatives will celebrate the New Year together. The rest of them will just visit the closest relatives. It doesn't matter if they don't visit. It's like I'm not from Shushan. Yan Zhika rolled her eyes at him. Lu Qing felt like he was shot by an arrow. I miss the relaxing New Year in Shushan. She continued. I'm hanging up now. Lu Qing was about to say, okay, when a question popped up in his mind. He thought for a while and said, Coach Yan, I made a mistake today. Will you have a bad impression of me? This kind of thing shouldn't be asked directly. He should observe her body language and make up for it. But he couldn't help himself. Yan Zhika bit her lower lip with her teeth. Suddenly, she smiled and showed her dimples. Since you're honest and lenient, I won't leave a bad impression on you. She stopped smiling and said seriously, you're a good Cheng. When you're impulsive next time, think about your parents, your friends, and your future. Don't be impulsive without considering the consequences. Fortunately, it's not a big deal this time. Yes, yes. I'll remember Coach Yan's words. Lu Qing put on a swearing pose and added, but this is murder, a living human life. After saying that, he couldn't help but want to slap himself. Didn't he mention something that didn't boil? What if Yenjika was traumatized? Yenjika's eyes would look up slightly when she was thinking, which was very cute. She thought for a while and said, actually, I'm not as unhappy about you accidentally killing the professional ninth pin fighter as you're involved in the mafia dispute. When you first mentioned that he raided the bar, I secretly cursed him. That hateful guy dared to come to Shushan to make trouble and break the peace. I hoped that some hero or policeman would punish him. But I didn't expect that it wasn't a hero or a policeman. It was you, the young hero. Anyway, in my heart, he was already a dead man. She teased young hero Lu and continued, this mentality may have something to do with my family. I often hear my grandpa talk about similar things, so I think it's quite normal. If it were someone else, they wouldn't have the mood to enlighten you. Yes, my grandpa often said that from an ordinary person to a fighter, not only does one need to be reborn physically and mentally, but also to keep up with the daily mentality. Many people are very impulsive, hot-blooded, and strong when they just master good martial arts. They accidentally break the rules with martial arts. This is a common problem for many fighters. But some people make small mistakes that won't affect their future. After they pass this stage, their mentality will catch up and they will return to the mainstream. But some people make one wrong step and can't turn back. Speaking of this, she glanced at Lu Cheng and said, fortunately, you can be saved. Otherwise, I won't talk to you. Lu Cheng's heart was beating fast. He said with a smile, please save me, Coach Yen. After listening to Yen Jika's analysis, he seriously reflected after hanging up the video call. With this lesson, he wouldn't have the same impulse in the future. Once bitten, twice shy. When it was almost noon, he had completely sorted out his state of mind. Only then did he dare to go out and face his parents. But at this moment, his phone suddenly rang. The number was familiar. It seemed to be Director Xing's. Hello, Lu? Director Xing's hearty voice came from the other side of the phone. Yes. Hello, Director Xing. Thank you so much this time. Lu Qing sat back on the bed. It's nothing. It's what I should do. Director Xing lowered his voice and said, the hospital just called me. 3 died on the spot, 1 couldn't be resuscitated, and 1 is basically disabled. Only Wang Su is fine. Sigh, 4 dead and 1 disabled. I really can't suppress such a case. Wang Su will definitely be sentenced for attempted murder with a gun. But we can reduce his sentence by a few years because he didn't cause any substantial harm, wasn't the mastermind, and had the intention to report to the police. Anyway, it should be at least 5 years. I'm telling you, so you should be mentally prepared. When the time comes, you may have to testify in court secretly. As for when he's in prison, I'll find someone to take care of him and not let him be bullied. Lu Cheng's heart wasn't heavy. After Yen Jika's analysis, this was a predictable outcome. He said sincerely, this is nothing. Wang Su is only 19 years old. If he behaves well in prison and his sentence is reduced, he'll only be 22 or 23 years old when he comes out. He still has a long life ahead of him. It's better than dying on the spot. He quietly changed the way he addressed him. Director Xing laughed and said, I'm relieved that you can think it through. Well, we just carried out a special anti-gang operation and arrested Jian Laosan and Zhang Mingle's left and right men. Zhang Mingle escaped by himself, but he won't be able to come back to Shushan in the future. No one will harass you and your family because of this. Lu, as an elder, I have to say one more thing. The underworld is not something to be seen in public. Even if they are really capable, they are just the dogs of the big shots. They will do as they are ordered. Don't be envious of them just because they are powerful and domineering. Uncle Xing, don't worry. I have a bright future ahead of me. I won't walk this path that is destined to be hopeless. Lu Qing answered without hesitation. He vaguely felt that Director Xing's attitude had changed. In the past, he always talked about his master, but now he cared more about his own appearance. Seizing this opportunity, he smiled and said, "Uncle Xing, when are you free? I want to visit you for a new year." Director Xing immediately let out a hearty laugh. "Sure. I'm on duty on the second and third day of the new year. After that, I have to visit relatives. How about the seventh day of the new year? I'll be here the whole day. You can come at any time. My address is 9th floor, Unit 2, Building 3, Mingshan Community, Number 9, South Shuiyuan Street." After hanging up the phone, Lu Qing pulled the curtain of the room that he had forgotten to open. The dark clouds outside had dispersed and the warm winter sun shone in. Rays of brilliant sunlight shone in and lit up the whole room. This was a bright world. Chapter 96. After confirming the time to visit Director Xing's home, Lu Qing sent a message to Yan Jika on QQ. He didn't use a cheeky emoji because he hadn't completely calmed down yet. "Coach Yan, Director Xing just called me and told me about Wang Su's sentence. I took the opportunity to mention that I wanted to visit him and he agreed. It's set on the 7th. What small gift do you think I should bring?" Since the Yan family was on good terms with Director Xing, they definitely knew his preferences. "You asked the right person," Yan Jika said with a cheeky smile. "Uncle Xing is from Ningxue and he loves two things the most. One is the original proof wine from Ningxue Winery and the other is Ningxue green tea, especially Maojian green tea. You can try and see if you can't get them. If you can't, you can get the highest grade Ningxue Daku and green tea. He won't care much about what you give him. The highest grade Ningxue Daku is only a few dozen yuan. Not Maojian green tea, I think it's about the same. In total, I can get it for about 100 yuan. I'm a little nervous," Lu Qing said. His mother was from Ningxue County in Shoshan City. His father and grandfather all loved Ningxue Daku and green tea, so he knew the price. Yenjika said with a smile, "That's why it's called a small gift. Listen to me and you can't go wrong." "Okay, I'll go east if Coach Yen tells me to." Lu Qing expressed his loyalty and planned to try and see if he could get the original proof wine and Maojian green tea. Well, Director Xing is in charge of martial arts affairs. He should be a master himself, right? It seems that he doesn't practice drunken boxing. Aren't you afraid that drinking will affect your reaction? Yenjika paused for a while before replying, "Phew, my cousin's food is getting worse and worse. Bad review. Uncle Xing, he only drinks 2 cups of wine at dinner every day as a pastime. He's also a professional 6th pin dan stage master and has a strong control of his body. He's not afraid that it will affect anything." Lu Qing was waiting to ask Director Xing about his kung fu skills so that they could have a conversation. Otherwise, they would have nothing to talk about because they were not familiar with each other. Yenjika added, "Uncle Xing's daughter, Sister Jingjing, should also be there when you go to pay your New Year's greetings. You have to watch what you say. Don't ever mention words like hooligan, gangster, or pervert." "Why?" Lu Qing was at a loss. Did he need to emphasize this? Yenjika rolled her eyes and said, "This is a secret. Don't ask." Lu Qing scratched his head and had to suppress his curiosity. He first asked Director Xing about the golden jade body and the modern style of Xingyi. Then he stood in Yenjika's position and criticized her cousin's dishes. While he was talking, he suddenly felt a little confused. Even Yenjika, who had communicated with him the most, was surprised that he could defeat that dangerous professional 9th pin fighter. Why did Master look so normal and not have any emotional fluctuation? Even if he knew that she had awakened a superpower, shouldn't he at least give her some reaction? He was not like this at the Martial Sage Candidate Challenge tournament. Does he really believe in my strength that much? In a Mediterranean-style house, Gieserscher pressed his chest and walked to the wine cabinet. He opened the door, took out a bottle of unlabeled wine, and poured himself a glass. "Dad, why are you drinking again?" A voice came from afar. They could only hear the voice but not see the person. It was as if they could grasp the situation here even from afar. The corner of Gizersher's mouth twitched. Calm down, calm down. What's there to be surprised about?" The voice was like ice beads hitting a jade plate, but it also showed a bit of maturity carved by time. "My stupid apprentice overestimated himself and fought against a ninth pin fighter of the dark sect. He's as impulsive as I was when I was young." Gizersher narrowed his eyes and sniffed the wine, intoxicated. The voice was confused. "Didn't you say that junior brother only had the strength of an amateur first pin fighter? A ninth pin fighter of the dark sect is not the kind without inheritance. The secret method of spiritual aura is very effective at this stage. Is it because he's in danger that you're frightened? Childish. Naive. Why would I be frightened by this?" Gizersher curled his lips. He stopped the opponent from killing and killed him in a fight of life and death. He killed the opponent. His superpower of fire hasn't reached this level, has it? The voice was surprised. Gizersher took the opportunity to drink the wine in his glass. He smacked his lips and said, "See, you're shocked too, aren't you? I almost couldn't maintain my dignity and composure as a master. Luckily, I managed to hold it in. I guess he's met this ninth pin fighter before and is on guard against the secret method of spiritual aura. Otherwise, it's impossible." The voice said with certainty. "I thought so too." Gizersher wiped his white hair. "I'm always shocked by this stupid apprentice." According to the custom in Shushan, relatives were not allowed to visit on the first day of the new year. Lu Qing lay on the bed for a while and then heard his mother calling for lunch. After leaving the house, he sat across from his father, Lu Jisheng. Before he could open his mouth, he saw his mother, Qi Fang, sneakily whisper, "Old Wang's son was arrested." He even asked little Luo to pack his clothes and send them to the police station. Luo was Wang Su's mother, Luo Aijin, 2 years younger than Qi Fang. "Mom, haven't you been cooking in the kitchen? How did you know this gossip?" Lu Qing looked at his mother as if she was a god. "Where did you hear this rumor from?" "You haven't been out today." Lu Jisheng was also surprised. Qi Fang rolled her eyes at him. "Don't you know how to use your phone?" "Of course, someone called me to talk about this." Lu Qing roughly understood why the gossips in the community spread so quickly. He felt a lingering fear. If he was detained, the whole community would know about it after the investigation. At that time, he could imagine how his parents would feel. Think more about your family when you're impulsive. Old Wang's son was really caught? Lu Jisheng asked with concern. Yes. It said that he committed a big crime and the police came to inform him personally. He might be sentenced to more than 10 years in prison and his life will be ruined. Qi Fang sighed and turned to glare at Lu Cheng. See? Learn martial arts. Don't be so competitive. Don't get in touch with those gangsters. Mom, don't worry. I'll remember this lesson. Lu Cheng took a deep breath. He engraved this lesson in his heart and remembered the lingering fear to prevent himself from doing such stupid things in the future. Lu Jisheng sighed. Old Wang has a hard life. But his son is just a gangster. There must be a mastermind behind this, so the sentence may not be so heavy. If he behaves better and strives for a reduced sentence, he may be out in a few years. When he's in his 20s, he can start over. You bookworm, you'll know when you know more about the community. People with criminal records are discriminated against. It'll be difficult for you to find a good wife in the future. Qi Fang also sighed. After all, she had known old Wang's family for almost 20 years. They were neighbors. While eating, they felt sorry for Wang Su and the Wang family. Lu Qing didn't interrupt and listened quietly. He felt that every word they said hit his heart, making him full of guilt and regret. Due to the other party's criminal record, the other party's performance, and the scene at that time, he did not blame himself for killing the other party. Although the loss of a life shocked him, it was not a person he knew, so it was not that strong. Therefore, he appeared to be relatively calm and did not have too obvious post-traumatic stress. However, the possible consequences of the whole thing were constantly beating him, continuously beating him, making him completely reflect on himself and gradually lose his reckless impulse. This might be the change in his state of mind caused by this incident. It was the necessary training in martial arts that Yen Jika's grandpa said. In the future, he would plan before acting. A gentleman wouldn't stand under a collapsing wall. Not for anything else, but for too many ties. Do you understand, Cheng? Chi Fang's voice came into his ears. Lu Cheng was in a trance and reflecting on himself, so he didn't pay attention to their conversation. Now he was confused. Huh? What are you thinking about? Chi Fang said impatiently. I say, you can learn martial arts, but don't break the rules with martial arts like those on TV. Your dad and I are in our 40s and have lived for more than half of our lives. We can't bear any more torment. Okay. Lu Cheng nodded hard. On the wet ground, the man in black exercise clothes suddenly turned into a giant green-eyed wolf. He bit Lu Cheng's throat and sank his teeth deep into it. Lu Cheng sat up abruptly with cold sweat all over his forehead. He was still immersed in the fear brought by the nightmare. In the dark, he pressed a button on his phone and it lit up. He glanced at it and found that it was less than 4:00. There was still a lot of time before morning training. Alas, for a freshman like me, this is an unprecedented bad thing. Even if the haze is gone and the mental trauma is not serious, it will take 2 or 3 days to completely recover. The remaining emotions will be eliminated with time. After a quick meditation and a short rest, Lu Cheng got up on time to train. He was sweating, tearing the airflow, and stirring up his whole body. He was full of energy and used his vigorous qi and blood to erode the shadow in his heart. After returning home, he took a shower and tidied up. Then he went out with his parents to his Aunt Chi Yan's house in Ningxue County to celebrate the new year with his grandfather. His grandfather had 2 daughters. The younger one, Chi Yan, was a live-in son-in-law. It was agreed that the children would follow their mother's surname. If there was a second child, they would follow their father's surname. Currently, he had 2 daughters. I'm just about to buy the original proof wine and Maojian green tea from Ningxue Brewery. Lu Cheng looked at the scenery outside the car window and thought. However, these 2 things were hard to buy. He had to ask his aunt and uncle to see if they had any connections since they owned a small supermarket. The distance from Shushan to Ningxue County was not far. If he had a car, he could get to his aunt's house in 40 minutes from the neighborhood where Lu Cheng lived. But if he didn't have a car, he had to take a bus to the bus station to buy a ticket. When he got to Ningxue County's bus station, he had to transfer again. All in all, it would take at least 1.5 hours. The scenery flew by. Lu Cheng, who was focused on chatting, soon saw the streets of Ningxue County. P.S. I think that a half-grown boy who suddenly had a fortuitous encounter and improved his martial arts so quickly that even his master couldn't predict it and didn't give him the corresponding guidance in time would definitely have problems in his daily life. There would definitely be some bad experiences. Therefore, I wrote very carefully about the change in Lu Cheng's state of mind. I finally finished the last stroke of this chapter. I hope everyone can feel it. Chapter 97. You kids nowadays only know how to play with your phones every day. What are you laughing about? His mother, Chi Fang, took the lead and walked to the unit where her sister, Chi Yan, lived. She nagged at Lu Cheng for being reluctant to put down his phone when he was in the car. Lu Cheng was carrying alcohol, cigarettes, chicken, fish and other gifts. He didn't dare to talk back and could only laugh dryly. Fortunately, there was a generation gap between him and his mother, so she didn't find out that he was in love with her. As for whether it was a one-sided romance, judging from Yen Jika's performance and their interactions during this period, He vaguely felt that it was more than a friend. Whether they were lovers or not was another matter. He should not have any misconception that he was feeling good about himself and made a mistake, which could ruin the good situation. The revolution hasn't succeeded yet. Comrades still need to work hard. You don't understand. Nowadays, the younger generation communicates on the internet, unlike us in the past. Lu Jisheng was also carrying a lot of gifts. Why don't I understand? If I didn't understand, would I only nag? I saw on TV that some parents are so heartless and irresponsible that they send their children to some internet addiction treatment center. Qi Feng rambled on. In the blink of an eye, they came to the third floor and pressed the doorbell. Lu Qing had a very good impression of his aunt's house and the small supermarket that they had developed from a grocery store. He loved to play here when he was a child. Every time he looked pitifully at some snacks, his aunt, Qi Yan, who had a sharp tongue but a soft heart, would give some to him. Because of their poor family background, he rarely had snacks. The door opened and Qi Yan, in a white down jacket, took the gifts from Qi Feng with a smile. She glanced at Lu Qing and teased him, "Qing, your mom is willing to let you do heavy work." Qi Yan and Qi Feng looked very similar, but there were almost no crow's feet. She looked like she was in her early 30s instead of her late 40s. She was very good at taking care of herself. I'm not a kid anymore. Of course I have to help carry things. Qi Feng changed her shoes and walked into the house. When they were in middle school and high school, she didn't want Lu Qing to study hard and rarely let him do housework. Even when she visited relatives and friends, she would carry the lightest things. Lu Qing raised the items in his hand and flexed his muscles. He said with a smile, "I'm strong now. This is a piece of cake." While talking and laughing, the family of 3 entered the house. They saw Lu Cheng's grandparents and uncle, Chen Wenhua. Grandpa, Grandma, Uncle. Lu Cheng greeted them one by one, feeling a little regretful that he couldn't spend the new year at his grandfather's house. Although her uncle was considered a live-in son-in-law, her grandparents were only in their 60s. Their bodies were strong, and their spirits were high. They still lived in their hometown in the countryside, tending to a few acres of land and raising a few chickens. They were reluctant to leave the familiar environment and the relatives and neighbors that they had lived with for many years. There was a small river at the entrance. The deepest part of the river was only a little above the ankle. If you were lucky, you could really catch small fish. Further up, there was a reservoir where you could fish. Along the mountain road, there was land contracted by his relatives. There were all kinds of fruit trees planted there. In the ditch beside, tadpoles were looking for their mothers. Every year during the holidays, Lu Qing would go there to play, like a wild horse. 2. Lu Cheng's grandpa's face was ruddy. He said with vigor, "Why didn't you come here for a few days before the new year? Come and sit down. There are sunflower seeds, peanuts, and soft candy. Choose what you like." Lu Qing wanted to say that he didn't like peanuts, soft candy, or sunflower seeds, but when he saw the eager and enthusiastic eyes of his grandparents, he swallowed the words back down and ate a soft candy. Maybe because he was the first child of his generation, his grandparents doted on him very much. As for her grandfather, other than not having studied much, he was an all-rounder. The furniture here, the furniture in the old house in the countryside, were all made by him. Furthermore, he was a good cook. He could farm, raise chickens, fish, and catch birds. He was her idol when she was young. The family sat down and talked about Lu Cheng's college life for a long time. After a while, they moved on to other topics to let Lu Cheng have some time. "How are Fei Fei and Xiao Xiao?" he asked his 2 cousins. The 2 girls were still in junior high school. One was in her 3rd year, and the other was in her 1st year. The older one was called Qi Yunfei, and the younger one was called Qin Xiao Xiao. Aunt Qi Yan said angrily, "I don't know where they went so early in the morning. Wait until noon. If they don't come back for lunch, I'll break their legs." Lu Qing changed the topic. Aunt, where can I buy the original proof wine and Maojian green tea from Ningshui Brewery? Don't we have them in our supermarket? Uncle Chen Wenghua interrupted in confusion. He and Lu Cheng's grandpa lived in the same village. He liked Qi Yan since he was a child. Because he had an elder brother, he moved his in-laws by being a live-in son-in-law. He was diligent and worked hard in the county with Qi Yan for many years. He worked in the grocery store, and from the grocery store to the small supermarket. He bought a house and paid off the loan. Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. Uncle, I know what the original proof wine and Maojian green tea in your supermarket are. No one will believe you just because of the price. Chen Wenghua laughed. Don't look down on them. The original proof wine in our supermarket is also from Ningshui Brewery. Together with the sorghum from the farmers nearby, it tastes very good. Why are you asking about these two? They are not sold very often. The ones in the market are either fake or shoddy. You can't get the real one without some connections. Qi Yan asked in confusion. Lu Jisheng and Qi Fang also looked at their son in surprise. They didn't understand why he asked this. Lu Qing said half-truthfully, I have a friend who is going to pay a New Year's visit to his elder brother. His elder brother is from Ningshui and only likes the original proof wine and Maojian green tea from Ningshui Brewery. He heard that I'm going back to Ningshui, so he asked me to ask if I can buy it. If he directly mentioned Director Xing, wouldn't he be exposing his own shortcomings and frightening his parents? If he doesn't have any connections, we can only rely on luck. And now it's the new year. Alas. Qi Yan was in a dilemma. At this time, Lu Cheng's grandpa Qi Jiayu said, Yan, isn't Deng Lao San well connected and popular? He always praises himself for his connections. Why don't you ask him for Cheng? Bah, that Deng Lao San is so arrogant. Every time he sees him, he looks like he wants to beat him up. And he speaks in a sarcastic tone. Why would I go to him for no reason? Qi Yan said grumpily. Lu Qing also smiled and said, don't bother. Anyway, it's just a friend who asked me to ask. It doesn't matter if I can't buy it. Would it kill you to ask him for Cheng? Lu Cheng's grandmother Kong Meijin gently pinched Qi Yan. Okay, I'll ask. Cheng, come with me. It's on the second floor. Qi Yan curled her lips and said. Auntie is a classic example of a sharp tongue but a soft heart. Lu Qing secretly laughed and stood up, following behind her. After a few steps, the two quickly went down the stairs and arrived at the door of Deng Laosan's house. Qi Yan pressed the doorbell and said angrily, Cheng, bear with it later. Deng Laosan's words are not pleasant to hear. Just treat it as a mad dog barking at you. Okay. After what happened yesterday, Lu Qing felt that most of his rashness and impulsiveness had been worn away. After a short while, the dark red door opened. A man with thinning hair said, Qi Yan, you don't come here for no reason. What can I do for you? He combed one side of his hair to the other side to cover the blankness in the middle. With several pimples on his face, he seemed to be quite angry. Deng Lao San, didn't you say that you have a wide network? Can you get the original proof wine and Maojian green tea from Ningshui Brewery? Qi Yan asked directly. Deng Lao San looked her and Lu Qing up and down and laughed. You also want to buy these two things? Is it necessary? Do your friends and relatives need to give you these two things? Why do you have to pretend to be rich? It's a waste of money and connections. I'm just asking if you can buy them. Do you have connections? Qi Yan took a deep breath and said. Lu Qing felt that his aunt was about to explode. He pulled her and said with a smile, we're asking for someone else. Deng the Third didn't let them in. He just stood at the door and said, then I'll tell you the truth. I can get them, but I can't get them for you. These two things don't look expensive, but they are priceless. It depends on connections. Do you understand? Connections? With my connections, I can only get a limited amount of them. I don't even think it's enough for me to do favors. What kind of relationship do you have with me? How much money can you give me? Why should I give you a bargain? Fine. Fine. Chi Yen was furious. Why do you have to say such harsh words? If Lu Qing didn't stop her, she might have quarreled with him. Lu Qing didn't want to buy them from Deng Lao San at a high price, which went against the purpose of the small gift. When they got home, Chi Yen complained in front of her mother, saying that Deng Lao San had ulcers on his head and pus on his feet. Auntie has no connections. I don't know many people in Ningxue. Who can I ask for help? Can I just buy ordinary Ningxue daku and green tea? Lu Qing murmured in his heart while listening to them. If Wang Su was still here, it wouldn't be difficult to get the original proof wine, except for Yan Zhika, who was in Jiangnan. Tao Xiaofei, Qin Rui, and Dai Linfeng were the only ones who could get it. Lu Qing was still a student, so his social circle was dominated by his classmates. He went to the balcony, opened his contact list, and called Tao Xiaofei. After a long ring, Tao Xiaofei said with a heavy nasal voice and sleepy voice, "Brother Lu, what's the matter? You're still in bed?" Lu Qing greeted him first. Tao Xiaofei smiled bitterly. "I went to bed at 6. You're so young. You're not afraid of your health." Lu Qing joked and changed the topic. "Do you know where I can buy the original proof wine and Maojian green tea from Ningxue Brewery?" Tao Xiaofei felt strange. "Brother Lu, why do you ask this?" "I've troubled Director Xing with the previous matter. I've made an appointment to visit him and want to get something he likes." Lu Qing said honestly. Tao Xiaofei laughed. "Brother Lu, you've asked the right person. Wait, I'll bring it to you directly. Are 2 bottles and 2 boxes enough?" Yes. "I'll give you the money," Lu Qing said happily. "We're so close that we don't need to talk about money. To tell you the truth, my dad is also into this kind of stuff. I'm going to smuggle some to you. Anyway, he's not bad. I can get it later." Tao Xiaofei grinned. Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. "Aren't you afraid that Uncle Tao will beat you?" "No, he's thick-skinned. And he wants to beat me every day." Tao Xiaofei said this like a normal teenager instead of a gangster who spent a lot of time in bars. "By the way, Brother Lu, where are you? I'll bring it to you directly." "No, I'm in Ningxue. You can give it to me before the 7th. Lu Qing smiled. Tao Xiaofei said, "Then I'll bring it to you. It'll only take a few minutes. My mom is going to spend the winter in South Sea. I'm not sure when I'll leave Shushan." After telling him the address, Lu Qing went back to the living room and chatted with his grandparents and aunts. About 40 minutes later, his phone rang. Tao Xiaofei had arrived. While talking on the phone, Lu Qing walked out of the building and saw the BMW 7 Series at the gate of the community. "Brother Lu." Tao Xiaofei got out of the car and gave him a bag with 2 bottles of original proof wine and 2 boxes of Maojian green tea. The original proof wine was simply packaged like the one produced in the small workshop next door. Although it's ugly, the simpler the packaging, the better it is, Tao Xiaofei said with a smile. Lu Qing looked at it and held it in his hand. He said sincerely, "Sorry to trouble you." "It's no trouble at all." Tao Xiaofei said straightforwardly, "We're old classmates." At this point, he smacked his lips. "I'm not asking you to help me fight. After seeing that scene yesterday, I was really shocked. I don't like to dance and seek excitement like I used to. I've become king good guy in the bar. Last night, someone stole the girl I had my eyes on, but I didn't say anything. Anyway, it's not my wife or girlfriend. Do you think there's a shortage of girls in the bar? Why do you have to be angry and fight for this?" Lu Qing looked at him in surprise. "It's good that you have this awareness. You have money and connections. If you lose yourself because of a girl in the bar, you'll be wronged. Who can you reason with then?" Tao Xiaofei nodded solemnly. Living is the most important thing. You can only enjoy life when you're alive. Huh, you look like an old man. Lu Qing joked. Tao Xiaofei returned to normal and said with a smile, Brother Lu, I'm not asking you for anything. With your current strength and age, you may become a famous master on TV in the future. At that time, don't pretend you don't know me. I can brag to my friends. Look. Hero Lu and I had barbecue together last night. We've been friends since childhood. No problem. Huh, you're so nice. Lu Qing agreed with a smile. Watching Tao Xiaofei drive away, he told Yan Zhika about it with a smile. Then he carried the things and went back to his aunt's house. When he was about to reach the door, he heard Deng the Third's voice from inside. Yes or no? Tell me. You're lucky. I have a friend who hasn't sent out a gift yet. I want to convert it into money. A bottle of original proof wine is 800 yuan, a box of Maojian green tea is 1,200 yuan, so the total is 2,000 yuan. Do you want it or not? Just tell me. I'm telling you, it's more expensive than normal, but I promise it's real. You won't get it again if you miss it. What's your family's connection? You can't get it in your life without luck. Lu Qing couldn't help laughing. He pushed open the half-closed door and said, No need. I've got it. Got it? Qi Fang, Qi Yan, and the others all looked at him in surprise. Qing just answered a phone call and went out for 10 minutes. How could he get it? You got it? Is it fake? Deng the Third's face darkened. He walked to Lu Qing and took the bag recklessly. He rummaged through it carefully and then fell into silence. After a while, he asked in confusion, How much did you pay for it? It's real, but don't waste your money. Lu Qing smiled and said, I didn't. Someone gave it to me. Chapter 98. A gift? Deng the Third opened his mouth and raised his voice a lot. Before Lu Qing could answer, his face reddened like the cloth worn by the bullfighters on TV. It was as if blood was about to drip out of his face. He murmured as if he wanted to ask for clarification, but couldn't. Finally, he laughed and said, It's good that you have it. As he spoke, he put down the bag and quickly rushed to the door. He didn't pay attention and tripped over the threshold. He stumbled a few steps and almost fell into the opposite door. Then, without looking back, he hurriedly went downstairs. The living room of Qi Yan's house was quiet. After a few seconds, Lu Qing's mother asked in confusion, Qing, who gave it to you? What kind of social connections could a kid who had just entered college have? How could he find a way to get the original proof spirit and Maojian green tea from Mingshui Daku for free? As a mother, she felt that she had to figure it out, in case her son was cheated by others. Lu Qing explained with a smile, Mom, do you remember Tao Xiaofei? I sat in front of him for a long time in high school. You should have seen his mom or dad at the parent-teacher conference, right? Shushan No. 1 Middle School's tradition was to arrange the parents according to the student's original position during the parent-teacher conference. Yes, his mom always praised you for being good at studying and steady. She wanted to use you as a role model for Tao Xiaofei. Qi Fang immediately recalled. His mom was really dressed like a jewel. Lu Jisheng couldn't help but laugh. Oh, you learned to use idioms? Jewel is really good, really good. Qi Fang stared at him. I don't dare to compare myself with a great intellectual. But since an illiterate like me can learn to use idioms, shouldn't you, a great intellectual, learn to cook? I'll leave it to you in the future. Lu Jisheng laughed and didn't answer. He looked at Lu Qing and asked, Tao Xiaofei gave it to you? Yes, I asked him with the intention of giving it a try. He said he had a lot of them at home, so he gave me some. Lu Qing turned back and closed the door. You guys are quite close. He even gave it to you from afar. Qi Yan interrupted. Chen Wenhua said thoughtfully, the Tao family's background isn't bad. Not bad, not bad. Lu Qing didn't know whether he was answering his aunt or his uncle. Suddenly, Qi Yan clapped her hands together and clapped. She said excitedly, "Qing, it's only been a while since we last met. You've grown so much." "Huh, this is the first time I've seen third brother Deng so embarrassed and embarrassed." "Io, what do you mean by our family's connections? If you don't rely on luck, you won't be able to get it in this lifetime?" Then I gave him 2 bottles and 2 boxes, and they were all free gifts. She seemed to have vented the resentment in her chest. Qi Fang chimed in, "I wanted to beat that Deng the third just now." Her eyebrows and eyes were full of joy. She was immersed in the gratification of her son's ability. The problem that the adults couldn't solve was solved with just a phone call. "Since your classmate said he would give it to you, we can't just take it for free," Lu Jisheng said after pondering for a while. Lu Qing said with a smile, "Dad, don't worry. I know what I'm doing." Qi Jiayu was about to praise him when he suddenly heard the sound of the key turning. He saw the door open and 2 little girls bouncing in. He laughed and said, "Fei Fei, Xiao Xiao, if you come back a little later, your mom will break your legs." "My mom? She's just joking." Qi Yunfei wrinkled her nose and said disdainfully. Qi Yan's face darkened. "I'm just joking. You haven't been beaten for a long time. Are you itching for a beating?" "Mom, I won't do it again." Qi Yunfei suddenly became a lackey. Her attitude changed so fast that Lu Cheng was amazed. His 2 cousins had been lively and mischievous since they were young. The effect of the devil incarnate plus the devil incarnate was definitely more than 1 + 1. Moreover, they could be considered as the most beautiful among his siblings. Although they were not very beautiful, in the words of the Ningxue dialect, they were little good, little good. They looked cute and comfortable. "Brother Lu Cheng, when did you arrive?" While her sister was flattering her mother, Chen Xiaoxiao looked at Lu Cheng with a smile. She looked very similar to her sister, Qi Yunfei, especially when both of them had air bangs. However, the baby fat on her face was still there, and her eyes were a little bigger. She was less beautiful, but more cute. "We arrived a long time ago," Lu Qing said in an exaggerated and heavy tone. After exchanging a few pleasantries, the 2 girls went back to their rooms to tidy up and prepare for lunch. Lu Qing followed them into Qi Yunfei's boudoir and closed the door with his heel. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and said with a smirk, "Tell me the truth. You ran out early in the morning on the 2nd day of the new year. There must be something wrong." Chen Xiaoxiao pretended to shiver. "Brother Lu Qing, it has nothing to do with me. I'm just a cover. Sister Fei Fei went on a date." "Wow, you're in love at such a young age." Lu Qing looked at Qi Yunfei in surprise and laughed. Qi Yunfei first glanced at Chen Xiaoxiao. "Traitor." Then she looked at Lu Qing and made a face. "I'm 15 years old and in my 3rd year of middle school. What kind of love is this? It's useless to tell me. You have to tell your mother." Lu Qing raised his eyebrows. Qi Yunfei's face turned pale. "Brother Lu Qing, you're not going to betray me, are you? It depends on your performance. If you don't get into Shushan No. 1 middle school or Ningxue No. 2 middle school, you know." Lu Qing put on a look of indifference. Seeing his exaggerated performance, Qi Yunfei was relieved. "Don't just talk about me. Brother Lu Qing, did you have a girlfriend in college?" "Almost." Lu Qing stretched out his right hand and pinched the top joint of his little finger with his thumb. "Oh." The 2 girls were full of gossip. "That is to say, you're going to fall in love? What kind of girl is she?" "I'll tell you when I get her." Lu Qing didn't want to give himself bad news. Because of his 2 lively and likable cousins, this day was full of laughter. After dinner, Qi Jiayu and Qi Yan tried to persuade Lu Qing and his family to stay for 1 night and go back the next day. Chen Xiaoxiao gave up her room and slept with her sister. Lu Cheng's parents lived with her, and Lu Cheng became the head of the department, guarding the living room. Because Chi Fong mentioned that Lu Cheng had to get up early to exercise, he went to bed at 10:30 every day. After 10 o'clock, the others didn't watch TV and went back to their rooms. Late at night, Lu Cheng logged out of QQ and went to sleep. When he was sleeping soundly, he suddenly felt the vibration of his phone and woke up from the dreamless world. It was Yenjika. The time was exactly midnight. Why did she suddenly call me? Lu Cheng was surprised, confused, worried and nervous. He quickly picked up the phone and chose to answer. Hello, Cheng. Yenjika's familiar voice came with a smile. Yes, it's me. Lu Cheng was still a little confused. Yenjika chuckled. Cheng, happy birthday. Happy birthday? Lu Cheng just woke up and remembered that it was his birthday after midnight. It was February 2nd on the Gregorian calendar. If you didn't give me this number, I would have forgotten it myself. Lu Cheng was overjoyed and beamed. His voice unconsciously became louder and reverberated in the quiet living room. Yenjika waited until midnight just to say happy birthday to me. I'm so happy. She was adjusting her biological clock to get used to waking up early to exercise. Without me, no one will celebrate your birthday for you? Yenjika asked with a smile. Lu Cheng was afraid that he would wake others up, so he put on his clothes with difficulty while holding his phone. He groped for the balcony. I haven't officially celebrated my birthday since elementary school, but my parents will remember to cook me a bowl of longevity noodles. His family was poor in middle school, so he didn't have the money to buy a birthday cake. He was used to it in high school and felt that it was childish to ask for a birthday celebration. As soon as he opened the balcony door, Lu Cheng saw a shadow squatting in the corner. He immediately shouted in a low voice, "Who is it?" The shadow was scared and jumped up. She turned around and saw Lu Cheng. She patted her chest and said, "Brother Lu Cheng, you scared me to death." The shadow was Chi Yunfei, his cousin in the 3rd year of middle school. She was wearing pajamas with rabbit ears and a small quilted jacket. She was trembling while holding her phone. You scared me too. I thought there was a thief. Lu Cheng didn't cover the receiver and said directly. Chi Yunfei exhaled and said, "Is there a thief as cute as me?" My boyfriend called and I was afraid to wake Xiao Xiao up, so I came out to the balcony to talk. She looked at Lu Cheng and moved her eyebrows. She snickered. It seems that you are also a thief. Yeah. Lu Cheng found it funny. What a coincidence. After that, they tacitly turned their backs and each occupied a corner of the balcony to talk on the phone. What happened just now? Yenjika asked curiously. Lu Cheng said with a smile, I was at my aunt's house. I was afraid to wake the people in the room, so I ran out to the balcony to talk on the phone. I bumped into my cousin. Puff, what was she doing on the balcony in the middle of the night? Yenjika laughed. Lu Cheng said with a smile, puppy love. She was talking on the phone with her boyfriend. After that, he turned around and saw Chi Yunfei turn her head and stare at him. It seemed that she was saying, you are such a big mouth. You forget your sister when you see a girl. You are not loyal. Lu Cheng didn't care and pretended not to see. After chatting with Yenjika for a few minutes, he was afraid that he would delay her getting up early tomorrow. So he said, can I ask for a birthday present? You can ask. It's up to me whether I approve or not. Yenjika answered with a smile. Lu Cheng seemed to be able to imagine her smile. Quietly turning on the recording function, Lu Cheng said excitedly, sing a birthday song for me. Humph, for the sake of your birthday. Yenjika said proudly and gently hummed the song. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. Well, what do you wish for? Hurry up and make a wish. Lu Cheng's heart was full of joy. After thinking for a while, he hinted, as the old saying goes, I only wish that there will be a day every year. You will be every year, you will be every year. That's a good wish. Yenjika's voice had a trace of a smile. Then she said quickly, I'm going to bed. You should hurry up and get up early tomorrow. Good night. Good night. Seeing that her attitude was not cold, Lu Qing felt good about himself again. After hanging up the phone, he was so happy that he wanted to scream. But with his cousin Qi Yunfei behind him, he couldn't forget himself and lose his dignity as a brother. Forcing himself to hold back, he went back to the living room and waved his arms quietly. The beginning of 19 years was so beautiful. After doing all this, he guiltily turned his head to look at the balcony. He saw Qi Yunfei was also secretly looking at him with one hand tightly covering her cheek. She also forgot herself. They looked at each other and smiled. With tacit understanding, they each made a gesture of encouragement to the other. In the next few days, Lu Qing fully enjoyed his holiday life. After getting up early to practice, he didn't have to be busy with classes and computer rooms. He didn't have to split his time in half. Besides having fun with his family and relatives, he also chatted with Yenjika, called her, and video called her. In his spare time, he read novels, surfed the internet, mingled in different groups, watched his own private forum, or found Zhang Fei and Xing Qili to play games and guide them to strengthen their bodies. His life was so comfortable that his body and mind were relaxed. The fight on the morning of the first day of the new year seemed to have happened several years ago. It no longer bothered him in his dreams. Time flew. Soon it was the 7th day of the new year. It was time to visit Director Xing. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.